Welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things World Wonder Ring Stardom. I'm your host, Rob Goodin. I'm joined as ever by the man, the myth, the legend. It's Too Sweet Matt Turner. Mr. Turner, how the devil are you, good sir?
Rob Goodwin, I'm fantastic. I just want to use this medium just real quick to say congratulations to, in my opinion, the GOAT, the true GOAT, Osbourne, your fellow countryman, as this past weekend, the Prince of Darkness himself got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for the second time, my friend. For the second time, obviously, he got in a few years ago with Black Sabbath, and this year he was honored for his legendary solo career. So if you're counting the WWE Hall of Fame induction that he got a few years ago, that this is 3 Hall of Fames that Mr. Ozzy Osbourne is in. So as you know, and our longtime listeners know, Ozzy Osbourne is my all-time favorite performer, and I was just super excited to see that he's a 2-time Rock and Roll Hall of Famer. But brother, I'm doing great. It's beautiful. It's like 81 degrees, and it's like we're a week away from November. Yeah, it's supposed to get down to like 50 over the next day or so. So it's supposed to drop like 30 degrees, the normal temperature that it's supposed to be around this time. But last 2 days, it's been very, very warm considering the fact that, again, we're about a week away from the month of November. So, brother, I'm doing well. You're looking dapper as ever in that Stardom Cast hat, which you can get on our store. Links are in the description box. But other than you looking dapper as ever, how's everything in your neck of the woods, good sir?
I can't complain. I can't complain. It always makes me laugh when Ozzy Osbourne gets brought up as a Hall of Famer because they are sort of, not because Ozzy Osbourne isn't great, but he made a brief appearance at one WrestleMania and is therefore inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's like,
he was when they did this the GM gimmick. He was a GM.
Oh, yes,
he was that. And not only that, but him and Captain Lou Albano helped the British Bulldogs defeat the Dream Team to win the WWF Tag Team Champions. Absolutely. He was absolutely. I'm championing my man here. Absolutely. But Ozzy's always championed pro wrestling. Like when he went back to the WWE to do that thing where it was the special GM, the GM of the week or whatever. And whenever he would do interviews and they would bring it up, he said, those guys are athletes. Those guys are athletes. There's nothing fake about what they do. Those guys are athletes and performers. So I think that's one of the reasons why they put him. And it's the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. He's not on the same plane as of a Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper by any stretch of the imagination. But it's the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame. And again, it's Ozzy. It's Ozzy, the Prince of Darkness.
That's true. And what better way to honor Ozzy Osbourne getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame than with the duet of Cher and Dua Lipa? Have you heard that did you watch any of the ceremony?
No, because I was away. I was away in New York for Comic-Con. I did see a little bit of it on Twitter. It was like a 7 or 8 minute clip, and every time I would go to start it, I would get easily distracted by something else. So I didn't watch all of it. Yeah, it was like 8 or 9 people that I think they did Crazy Train or something. So I was like, oh, I'll definitely have to watch that when I can. Just because he hasn't done any touring in the last 5-6 years just because his body just can't do it. So whenever he performs live, I know he performed live, I think it was 2 years ago for the season opener for the Los Angeles Rams, which was at SoFi Stadium, the same stadium that hosted WrestleMania 39. But he played a couple songs there. But when he can perform live, it's not an actual show. It's something like a special thing, like, again, opening for a football game or something like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And I know it's something that he desperately wants to go back and do at least 2 or 3 shows before he calls it a career, at least a live career. Yeah.
It's unsurprising. I'm amazed when you consider the torment that he has put his body through over the years. It's amazing that he thankfully is still with us, obviously, touch wood. But yeah, the thing I wanted to bring up is Cher was was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and did what can only be described as an absolutely terrible rendition of If You Believe in Life After Love with Dua Lipa, which it got absolutely slammed on the radio in Britain. And me and Kirsty were listening to it, and it woke us up, let's put it that way.
Nanae Takahashi was that.
Good grief. Do you know what they needed, mate? More passion.
I knew you were going to go there.
But genuinely, like the radio were making this massive song and dance about how terrible it was. And it wasn't. I just don't think their voices go together. Dua Lipa's voice sounded so weak compared to Cher's. Because Cher's got this really unique voice. But yeah, it was certainly a way of waking up in the morning. But I haven't seen the Aussie one yet. I'll be certain to check that out. Otherwise, absolutely fine, good sir. I've managed to fix the camera settings, which were plaguing me for the Marigold Standard. So fingers crossed. Thank you all for watching the video. This is the setup that we're going to have from now on. You will be able to listen to us, obviously, in the audio realm. That's not going to change. It's going to drop early for patrons. That's not going to change either. But also, you have the option of seeing our beautiful faces. Matt's in particular. May I say you are looking dapper, young sir. You will have the option to watch on YouTube rather than it just being the audio from Red Circle. It will be a video podcast as well. But without further ado, Matt, because we have got a whole host of things to get through, from all the news that's dropped this week to reviews. We're going to be looking at the Stardom and Toyama show from both at Toyama on the 14th of October. We're going to be looking at New Blood 16, and then we're going to be looking at the show that dropped just yesterday, Stardom and Fuji, from the 20th of October, which saw 2 new contenders for the #1 contendership for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. Indeed.
We can do that now, Rob. We can do that now. We can bear dance. We can just this is all the extra glory that now that everything's on YouTube. Plus, we can see our fancy backgrounds. I see your book, Stardom, Living the Dream, 10th anniversary in review. Which, if you haven't purchased, what's wrong with you? Go and follow the link, and you can see all the fancy stuff. All the because I'm a merchandising person, all the fancy merchandise I purchased over the years. So
of course,
a lot of extra. And again, we can always just do the bear dance. So
we can always. You always must do the bear dance, always. But before we get into any of that, Mr. Turner, what on earth is coming up on our Patreon this week?
This week, the Patreon was kind of light just with me being away. The only thing that by the time this drops, the only thing that'll be in your Patreon feeds is the alternate commentary that we did from last year's final of the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Tournament, which saw Crazy Star, Suzu Suzuki, and Mei Sarah take on the team of Divine Kingdom 1, Megan Bain, and Micah. So you may be saying, Matt, we're a little low on the Patreon. How are you going to make it up? Whoa, just wait. In the next 7 or 8 days, folks, this is what you have coming up on the Patreon. You have Matches with Matt, which is basically me and you sitting down watching a great match. And the match I have picked out for us for this month is Rose Gold, Mina Shirakawa, and Mariah May challenging then Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Champions Mariah and Ami Soy, the new areas for the Goddess of Stardom Tag Team Champions. Plus, we will have, again, another alternate commentary because that'll be dropping in your feed early next week. That will be Tony Storm taking on Kyrie from the spring of 2017. That is not all, folks. That is not all, because we have what Andy Header, timeless Andy Header, I guess we will refer to him now. If you have seen the promo that is on our YouTube page, timeless Andy Header will be on the podcast not once but twice in the next few days, as I'm scheduled to record with him back-to-back at the end of this week, as we were doing What Show is Better? The Cinderella Journey in Nagoya from February 2022. That goes against the anniversary show, Supreme Fight, earlier this year, 2024. Ooh. So, yeah, a lot of really good matches. You have Soriano defending against Starlight Kid on one side. You have Starlight Kid defending against Azumi on the other side. Micah making her first defense of the World of Stardom Championship against Saya Kamatani. Saya Kamatani making her first defense of the Wonder of Stardom Championship against Natsupoi. So I literally just finished my notes on that a few hours ago, and it was close. It was close. So we have all that. Yeah, you're going to see it. There's going to be a whole host of stuff coming out. Again, obviously, folks, I apologize for the lack of content while I was away, but you have about 4 or 5 episodes in the Patreon that will be coming out in the next few days. Plus, this is not on Patreon. This is going to be free for everybody. My part 2 of the finals of the 5-Star Grand Prix. So from 2017 all the way up until 2020, I've watched those matches and I've reviewed them. Plus, a very good soldier here on the Stardom Cast, they did give me a link to the finals of the very first 5-star Grand Prix with Kyoko Kimura versus one Yuzuki Ayakawa, and it was a barn burner of a match. So that's in there as well. So folks, you're going to have a lot of Stardom Cast, especially if you're part of the Stardom Cast Extra, the Stardom Cast Patreon. There's going to be a lot of Stardom Cast stuff in your feed over the next week or so. And I salute you, Mr. Rob Goodwin, because you have a lot of editing and posting that you have to do over the next few days. And that's just the joy of having me as a tag partner, my man, because the dream never stops, my man. It's just the work never stops. And boy, we love it.
Absolutely. And when you think that obviously Marigold ran 3 shows, Stardom ran 3 shows this week, it's been, and then obviously we got the start of the Goddess of Storm Tag League coming up as well, where I think it's only fair that me and you give our official predictions and then they get eliminated almost immediately because that's the way it goes.
Day one, now they were so bad, they're eliminated like it's a Cinderella
Gee,
tournament.
Oh my God, imagine. But I did just want to give a massive shout out to Nathan Richardson, who has recently subscribed to the Stardom Cast Extra. Again, guys, thank you so much to everyone that has already subscribed. If you haven't, it's patreon.com/the Stardom Cast, a tier for every single sort of pay bracket, $1 all the way up to $10, and any support is massively welcome. So thank you to everyone. Let's kick into some news then, and we're going to start with historic crossover, because believe it or not, Matt, we're actually not that far away from historic crossover to Electric Boogaloo, with that taking place obviously Eddie and Arena Osaka on the 17th of November. But we have our second match confirmed. If you remember, during the Nagoya show on the 5th of October, they announced that Zack Sabre Jr. will be teaming with Micah against Starlight Kid and El Desperado in El Desperado's return match. We have another mixed tag. We thought that the Clark Connors angle would be setting something up for Historic Crossover 2. We were right. It is going to be Clark Connors and Tekla against Natsupoi and Taichi. We did sort of wonder who was going to team with Natsupoi. We thought this might be where it was going. It made the most sense for where it was going. And if you remember at the last show in 2022, Natsupoi and Tam teamed with Taichi and Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Obviously, that's not going to happen this year because Kanemaru is in House of Torture. So it does make sense for Taichi to be Natsupoi's partner. Obviously, at the moment, Taichi is just about to feud with Bullet Club War Dogs. I believe he's the next challenger for David Finlay's Global Championship, which... absolutely, I am all here for that match. But Matt, what are your feelings towards this second announced match?
Made sense. They did an angle of it. The first one was just like, here's your G1 winner and here's your 5-star winner, and they're going to be wrestling 2 fantastic wrestlers, and with the Starlight Kid and El Desperado. And this is the one they did an angle and they set up. And again, this is another one that kind of, if you remember, it kind of divided the internet a little bit. And some people, believe it or not, Rob, some wrestling fans went a little overboard. And I think Andy Hatter said it best when he said, it's not like Clark Connors is going to be coming in winning every single belt. It's not like they're going to be setting up a Clark Connors versus Natsupoi steel cage match, even though me and you were like, you know what?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. You know what?
Poi would destroy him as well. Poi would end Clark Connors.
That spinning Pharaoh gift she did on Tekla, she do it off the cage.
Great, that was. Yeah.
But no, that's, again, they set it up, and it's going to be very, very interesting. The fact that, it's Taichi, who, again, as you mentioned before the show 2 years ago, the first ever historic crossover, he did team with Mel Tier, and I believe he went on a date with Tam. I think he took Tam to an aquarium or something, now they're just friends. So that's he got friend zoned there, so he figured why not be the friend of a friend. So no, but and ultimately that's going to be a really good match because Tekla and Natsupoi, they have really good chemistry together. I know their championship match we talked about a couple weeks ago went a little bit too much into the interference because it was a Wonder of Stardom championship match, and we're not used to that. Clark Connors is a great wrestler. Obviously, Taichi's a great wrestler. If they bring the interference in this one, I have no problem with that because there's going to be other bells and whistles that are going to go around it. But no, I'm all for it. These first 2 matches look really, really good. And again, I'm really interested to see if there's going to be like a big singles match, like maybe a big Mayu IWGP championship defense on this, or maybe even Mercedes Moné, because obviously she's been in the news quite a bit about her stirring the pot, her talking about wrestling for other companies that aren't AEW. So, which I'm sure we'll talk about in this episode. But no, I'm all for that match. Again, they set it up with a really simple angle. But how about you, partner? What do you think?
I'm a big fan of this match. I think it makes most sense. It's sort of what they sort of packaged historic crossover to be, you know, a genuine crossover between two companies. And there was always going to be a little bit of a, well, how is this going to work? Are we going to embrace the intergender sort of leanings of it? We saw last year how excited people got when Micah threw hands with Hiroshi Tanahashi. And I imagine that the moment Natsupoi gets her own back on Clark Connors, whatever that is, I imagine it's going to be great. I obviously hope massively that Tekla is fit, just as I hope that she is fit for the Goddess of Stardom Championship tournament. Sorry, the Goddess of Stardom Tag League, because obviously she's still sporting that cast. But fingers crossed, everyone is fit and raring to go, because that's going to be a fantastic match. Very, very excited. In terms of the IWGP Women's Championship, it makes the most sense to have that. You know, the first show in 2022 was where we crowned the first Women's Championship. Where Mayu lost to Kairi, it makes the most sense for her to do her 8th title defense there. I think her versus Azumi would be a fantastic advert for Stardom. Both women are phenomenal. Azumi has come on leaps and bounds. She's perhaps another one, since Queen's Quest is no more, sort of coming out of that and doing her own thing in Neo Genesis. I think it's benefited her as well. I don't think she'd have struggled had Queen's Quest continued. Don't get me wrong. But,
put her anywhere except turn her heel. Put her anywhere except turn her heel.
I think putting her in this group where she's obviously very, very close with the likes of Starlight Kid, Miyu Amasaki. But yeah, I'd definitely put that there. I think you could run, certainly, the New Japan Strong Women's Championship there. I don't know if you need it.
Why not do both?
You could do, but
yeah,
again,
maybe I'm getting greedy. Maybe we're getting greedy.
I think we run it in Japan, certainly, especially if one of the two people who we're going to be talking about momentarily, if they are to win this number one contendership. But I do think potentially you could run that in Sumo Hall for their final show of the year. Again, we don't know. Obviously, as the tag league weaves on, and as New Japan finish up with, I believe it's Power Struggle that they've got coming up at the start of this year, start of this month, next. Oh my God, the start of next month, start of November. I imagine
sometime this year.
It is happening at some point during 2024. I imagine that will at some point be. We'll get more matches announced for that. Goddess of Storm Tag League, as I mentioned, is just mere days away as we record, and we went through all of the teams who are going to be taking part in this year's tournament, the largest field in history. Stardom have now announced the breakdown of each block and when each match is going to be taking place. We now have a full schedule. And Matt, you know I love a spreadsheet. Well, huge credit to Dylan from the Stardom Quest on Twitter, who has created what can only be described as a masterpiece of a spreadsheet for the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. It's on his Twitter. It's on his Twitter page. Go and check it out, because it is an absolute masterpiece. I'm very impressed. But he has got a breakdown of what is when. I'm not going to go through the schedule for every single night because we'd be here for days. I'm just half-arsing it today, man. What can I say? Sorry, it doesn't matter. But what I am going to do, because what I always like to do when we come to tournament season is look at the key dates, okay? And that is your first night and your last night of block action. Do not forget that this year you have got your playoff and semi-finals on the 7th of December in at City Hamamatsu. And then the following day, on the 8th, you have got the actual final of that tournament. So 3 to qualify from each block. And we open in Shinjuku, 26th of October. And from the red block, we have got these matches. Sayori and Saki Kashima taking on Konami and Sayaka Kamatani. Mayu Iwatani and Momokogo versus Azumi and Miyu Amasaki. That's one to keep your eye on. Natsuko Tora and Ruaka BMI 2000 taking on Hazuki and Koguma FWC. That's in red block on the opening night. In the blue block, just 2 matches. Sayori Poi versus Star Fox. So Natsupoi and Sayori Ano versus Meisera and Kohaku. That could very well be match of the night. And then you've got Hina and Lady C versus Rian and Waka Tsukiyama. That show will also see Haruka Umasaki teaming with Starlight Kid in non-tournament action as well. The following day, the 27th of October, we are in Korakuen Hall. 4 Goddess of Stardom Tag League matches on that card. FWC, Hazuki and Koguma taking on Anacon, Sayori and Saki Kashima. Peach Rock, Mayu Iwatani and Momokogo taking on Sai Queen, Konami and Sayaka Kamatani. And then you have got Cup High Mate, Maika and Hanako taking on O2 Line, Azumi and Miyu Amasaki. Just the one blue block match. Waka Tsukiyama and Rian taking on Devil Princess, Azusa Inaba and Rina. So, Matt, obviously that is your opening weekend of Goddess of Stardom Tag League action. What matches immediately jump out at you there?
Anytime I see Sherry versus Sayaka Kamatani on the opposite ends of the ring, I'm absolutely thrilled for it. Again, I talk about all the time. 2022 not only was my favorite year in Stardom, it's one of the greatest single years that any single wrestling company has ever had. I would say you can put it up there with 94 All Japan. You can put it up there with 08, 09 Ring of Honor. You can put it up there with 2016 New Japan. And considering the fact that it was Sherry Red Belt champion, Kamatani white belt champion, that completely dominated their respective championships. And they were supposed to wrestle each other in the blocks in the 2023 5-Star Grand Prix. Of course, we all know that happened with Sayaka Kamatani getting injured on night 1. So super excited for that. And then plus you have that underlining story with Konami and Sherry. Plus you have the ultimate spoiler of spoilers on that team in one, Saki Kashima. So that one, that jumps out to me. Sayori Poi versus Meisera and Kohaku is going to be something really interesting because I've only seen a couple of Kohaku's matches, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the New Blood show. But I thought she blew me away. Like, it was just like, okay, this is my tryout here for New Blood, or basically what they're going to see a little bit. And then she's going to be getting obviously a lot of screen time on the Goddess of Stardom tournament. So, and again, they're in the ring with Soriano and Natsupoi, one of the best tag teams in this whole entire tournament. And I'm also really looking forward to the very next night with Peach Rock with Mayu Iwatani and Momokogo taking on Konami and Sayaka Kamatani. That's going to be really good because, again, you have Mayu and Saya on opposite ends of the ring, opposite ends. And then obviously FWC versus Shiri and Saki Kashima, because you can have some Hazuki versus Shiri violence, which they've teased the whole, but we've never gotten the full thing, buddy. We've never gotten the full thing. And not only that, but you have 2 great wrestlers in Koguma and Saki Kashima that can end a match just like that. So those are going to be something really, really interesting matches, and really a great way to start this tournament off with some fantastic stuff. I just feel really bad. It looks like Waka and Rian, probably by the time we wake up on the 27th, will be 0-2. I'm sorry. I love them, but I feel if one team is going to have a goose egg on the left-hand side, it's going to be the 2 of them. But I know that they're going to have some really good matches together. And who knows? They can use this tournament to gel for maybe a possible future Stardom, future New Blood Tag Team Championship match, because they are wrestling the New Blood champions on the second night. So, I mean, if they go out and have a really good outing, which I know they will, that might be something where Taro Okada is kind of taking a step back saying, well, this was a really good match. Let's put this on in New Blood, 18, 19, 20 or somewhere down the line and put it in the main event and give it 14, 15 minutes and let them go. So that can be very well something that they're looking at. So all in all, my man, I'm really looking forward to all these matches, but those ones that I just mentioned are the ones that I have highlighted for this weekend.
Yeah, completely agree. That my eye is immediately drawn to Peach Rock and O2 Line, and Sayaka versus Star Fox. Those are the matches that, in my opinion, I'm really, really digging. When we get to that final night of block action, which is the 1st of December in Nagata, these are the matches that we have. I am fully aware, by the way, that the lights just timed out behind me. So in a moment, I am going to go and turn that back on.
It's the effect. The Undertaker is our special guest, folks.
It's never done that before, ever. I don't know why it started now, but there we are. In red block, we have got Tam Nakano and Sayaka Kurura taking on Maika and Hanako. Anakon, Syuri, and Saki Kashima taking on BMI 2000, Natsuka Tora and Ruaka. An O2 line versus Psy Queen. Just speaking about the red block for a second, Matt, I can see Azumi and Miyu Amasaki versus Psy Queen being very much a playoff decider with the winner going through. What about you?
I'm going to say that I'm going to agree with you a little bit. I think this is going to determine the number 1 seed that gets the bye. And my guess, it's going to be Saya. My guess, it's going to be very much like they did with Hanan and Saya Kamatani at the 5-star, where Hanan defeated Saya Kamatani, and then they ran it back in the playoffs, and Saya got her win back. I think Konami and Saya Kamatani are going to get the win here and then become the 1 seed. And then Azumi and Miyu are going to defeat whatever other team is the 3 seed. And then Azumi and Miyu are going to get their win back. And I think Azumi and Miyu Amasaki are going to win the red block based on that. I think it's going to be Sai and Konami that get the bye. Because you always want to have a heel kind of have a little bit of an advantage, right?
Yeah.
So that's it right there. So you're already starting off with heat. And then that's what I think is going to happen. And that's how, again, I'm showing my hand. I have Azumi and Miyu Amasaki winning that block.
Yeah, I do agree. I do think that both those teams will get through, and I think the third one is most likely going to be FWC, who aren't actually in action on that night. I think it could be a straight shootout between FWC and BMI 2000. It would not surprise me if on this final night, Syuri and Saki Kashima cost Tora and Ruaka to stop them going through, especially when you consider all of the turmoil between Hate and God's Eye. Looking at blue block, then some really interesting matchups and some really interesting teams that aren't a part of this final night. So Momo Watanabe and Tekla, the champions, will be taking on Wingori, Hanan and Saya Ida. Aya Sakura and Yuna Mizumori will be taking on Rian and Waka Tsukiyama. And then Team Classroom, Hina and Lady C, taking on Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki. So just to clarify, not taking part on that final night are going to be Rina and Azusa and Naba, Natsupoi and Sayoriano, and Star Fox, Meisera, and Kohaku. Matt, what is your eye drawn to on this final night? Just while I go and turn that light back on, who do you think is going to be sort of your almost, and who is going to be going through?
I think very much like going into this final night, FWC has punched their card on the red block. And I think Suripoi going into this final night will already punch their playoff going into the blue block. I see Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki picking up a win here. Thus, that'll put them through. And I see here's going to kind of be like my far kind of bold prediction, because we know that when we've been seeing the draws in Stardom are few and far between, especially in the 5-star Grand Prix, but the ones made sense. And I think this one's going to make sense. I think Momo and Tekla, considering the fact that the champion's going in versus Wingori, I think that's going to go to the old TLD. Thus, that's going to block Momo and Tekla from making it into the playoffs. And wow. I think that Hanan and Saida are going to win the blue block. And here's my pick. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to say Wingori wins the whole thing. Thus, this time limit draw that they're going to have with Momo and Tekla, they're going to run it back. Yeah. They're going to run it back because now it's just like, well, they went to the TLD. If they go again to another TLD, it's going to be a successful title defense for Momo and Tekla. So I have Hanan and I'm doing pretty good on my predict. You know what? The two of us, because you got Hanan right for the Cinderella. I got the Dream Star, not only Utami right, but I got both finalists
and the final, yeah.
And the same thing with the 5-star Grand Prix and the G1. Even though we don't cover New Japan, I did have Yoto Tsuji and Zack Sabre Jr. in the finals, but I had Yoto Tsuji going over. So I'm already playing with house money, buddy. So watch that Serena and Waka Tsukiyama wins the whole thing. So again, my prediction is that it's going to be Hanan and Saito Wingori taking on O2 Line in the finals with Wingori picking up the win, thus giving Hanan her second tournament win this year. Very much like how Suzu Suzuki was on an absolute tear last year, where she won the Triangle Derby, she won the 5-star Grand Prix, and then she made it to the finals of the Goddess of Stardom tournament, which again, by the way, folks, that'll be up on your Patreon feed for your ultimate commentary.
I do think that something happens in that Momo Watanabe Tekla and Hanan and Sayarita match. I think we both said when the teams were announced that we saw Hanan and Sayarita, Momo Watanabe and Tekla, and then I think we said Natsupoi and Soriano going through. It does sort of strike me as a block final. Because if you look at the other names there, Aya Sakura and Yuna Mizumori taking on Rian and Waka Tsukiyama, no disrespect at all meant to those two, I don't see those two being in contention come final night. Hina and Lady C and Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki is an interesting one, because Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki are another team that could well make this final three. Are Hina and Lady C there to be fed to Crazy Tiger or Crazy Female? I can't remember what their tag name is. Or are they there to play spoilers to stop Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki going through? I think Wingori make a lot of sense as the winners. It would not surprise me at all if we were to see either Wingori and O2 Line as our final, which I don't think anyone would be disappointed in. But it would also wouldn't surprise me if we had Wingori versus Konami and Sayaka Mitani either. But again, it's a very, very interesting. But there's no clear winner to this as well, which makes it very, very exciting. With the final taking place on the 8th of December, I assume that the championship match that comes as part of winning this tournament will then take place at Sumo Hall. And I think, Wingori versus Momo Watanabe and Tekla for the championships is certainly a Sumo Hall worthy match. Again, it could be Izumi and Miyu Amasaki. I don't know, Matt. But overall, that final night is very, very interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And Rap, I want to just kind of ask you, who do you think the 1 seeds are? Because again, you're going to the playoffs, and even if you don't make it to the finals, you can always have that bragging right saying, hey, we had the best record in the A block and we had the best record in the B block. Again, as far as I'm going to say Konami and Sayaka Mitani. They have the most points going in the playoffs with the red block. And then the blue block, I'm going to say Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki. Because I think that you're going to have, you put the 2 Neo Genesis teams in the semifinals. You may be thinking, as we're watching it, we might be thinking, we might see an all Neo Genesis final. Again, they're the hot thing right now. So that's something that they may want to tease. But again, I'm going to say Konami and Sayaka Mitani, they come out of the red block with the most amount of points and they receive the bye. And then as far as the blue block, it's going to be Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki. Again, that's my prediction. What is yours as far as who comes out of these blocks with the most points and they receive that such important first round bye, my friend?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I do think you're right with Sayaka Mitani and Konami. I can see those going through. I could see both 8 teams, topping the blocks and then neither getting through to the final. That could work. A
lot can work. You know what I mean? It's all about how it's done and presented. I think it will. Yeah.
I don't think there's a wrong answer, to be perfectly honest.
Sure.
I would like to see Wingori go through as the top seed. However, if you're a full babyface team like they are, you've sort of got that, you want to see them overcome adversity, don't you? So maybe they don't top the block. Just to be different from yourself, I'm going to say Saori Poi top the block. A strong team, Wonder of Stardom champion, former Wonder of Stardom champion. And then I think in the semifinals, they will get knocked out by potentially Wingori. Potentially Starlight Kid and Suzu Suzuki setting up Starlight Kid and Natsupoi for Sumo Hall. I don't know, even though that's already pretty much just set up, even though we haven't announced anything yet. It's an interesting one.
Sorry Point's a good shout because they're like the most decorated. They're the only tag team on the blue block that they're both former Wonder of Stardom champions. Obviously, Natsupoi's current. They were former tag champs. Obviously, we have, and they never lost. Obviously, we have Momo and Tekla are the current champs with only one successful title defense, and really never teamed up quite a bit. So you have that now that they're former artist champs with Kairi when they won that match against Prominence. That phenomenal, one of the best Artists of Stardom Championship matches of all time.
Absolutely.
At All-Star Grand Queendom last year. So as far as like when you look at it like on paper, again, I know it's kayfabe, but you look at it on paper, they're the strongest team in my opinion in the blue block. Again, they never lost the belts. They're the only 2 white belt champions that are on the same team on blue block. And again, Natsupoi is the current Wonder of Stardom champion. So and their current goddess champions as well with Tam. So I mentioned they teamed with Kairi because there's a lot of great Kairi stuff. And we'll get into the Kairi watch because, boy, Kairi felt like she was wrestling in Cork and Hall in 2017 on these shows. Let me tell you, buddy. She wrestled with reckless abandon. Again, we'll get into it. There's your listener retention for the end of the show. But, yeah, and you're right because, like, when we looked at the 5-star, because with everything going on with just the shaking up of everything, the Sai Kamatani heel turn, them taking the belt off Micah, we didn't know where they were going. Where a month prior, we're like, Kamatani is going to win the belt as a babyface, rebuild Queen's Quest, and they're going to build to Kamatani and Micah, big World of Stardom Championship match at Sumo Hall, and they didn't do that. And they completely shook it up, and then Tam wins the belt after, not winning any of the 5-star matches, and but then we're kind of like, well, maybe it's going to be Micah. And they did tease that Kamatani and Micah were both like, hey, let's make it to the finals together. So you kind of saw that. The Hanan one you can kind of see coming. This one, there's like 4 or 5 teams that could possibly win this.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is really, really exciting. Again, there's really no wrong answer to who can win this. So I'm really excited for it.
Definitely. Moving on then, we have had Stardom wrestlers out and about, as I'm sure you are aware, especially when it comes to Sendai Girls. Now, unfortunately, because I am a busy bean, I haven't had a chance to watch these. However, Matt Turner, your encyclopedic knowledge of everything, because he just apparently doesn't sleep, has seen all of these. So, of course, we had Syuri teaming with Dash Chisako against the Red Energy team of Mikari Wata and Miyuki Takase in Sendai on the 18th of October. But on top of that, we also had the semifinals of the Jaja Uma tournament with Stardom's Aya Sakura taking on Yuna. Now, Matt, you watched this show. What did you think of these 2 matches, mate?
I thought that Aya and Yuna, it was good, but it just seemed like their timing was off a little bit. It just didn't seem like, holy jeez, something going down my road 1,000,000 miles an hour, folks.
The Batmobile.
Yeah, could have been. Hold on 1 second, dear citizen. It would, for how much of a hot streak Aya Sakura is on, just didn't seem like her and Yuna gelled. I'm not saying it was a bad match. It was like a 3.25-star match, but it just seemed like they had a better match within them. However, the finish was awesome because it was 2 insanely brutal head kicks from Aya Sakura to Yuna. So if you're like me and like some really strong striking, this match, especially the end, was for you. So that was, that was okay, but the money match was that main event with Dash and Syuri versus Red Energy. And I made mention of this back when we reviewed the Hanakamura Memorial Show, where they looked like they were trying to pull apart Syuri and Miko Wada. I'm like, well, there's something there. There's clearly, and the camera stayed on them long enough where there's clearly something there. When they brought Miko Wada in, she challenged Soriano for the Wonder of Stardom Championship, and they had their series of matches in Sendai Girls for the Sendai Girls Championship. I was like, I thought they were doing something with Syuri. That's the way that it felt. But regardless, I'm not going to say no to any Miko Wada matches in Stardom, especially against Soriano. So they go, so they have this match. It's a really good match. The finish just come out of nowhere. I had it at 4.25 stars. The finish comes out of nowhere where Miko Wada goes for her version of that Hammerlock Fire Thunder Driver. And then Syuri kicks Wada right in the head, and that leaves Dash to be able to do a roll-up that she kind of lost along the way, but was able to pin Miko Wada, and then now she's the number 1 contender, rightfully so, for the Sendai Girls Championship. But after the match, Shuri then challenged Miko Wada to a proper singles match. So I was like, oh boy, howdy. Clearly they're going somewhere with it. I thought they were going because they did a lot of great stuff with Red Energy and the Takase and Shuri, and I would love to see Red Energy in Stardom at some time. I mean, you take that tag team and plug them into current day what they're doing in the Stardom tag division. Boy, howdy, there's a lot of great stuff there, but they're doing Shuri versus Miko Wada. And the weird thing to me is, and again, I'm not complaining, that this match is happening in Sendai Girls. And I know we talk about the word dream match is kind of used or overused quite a bit. And I will be the first one to say I use dream match a lot. I'm a big offender of this. This is a dream match for me. Miko Wada versus Shuri. Their styles of wrestling are the style of wrestling that I like the most. It's just that hard-hitting style, that fighting spirit style, the submissions, the strikes, the realism in pro wrestling where you literally can be like, oh, geez. Like they really laid it in. The fact this is a big money match, and the fact that it's happening in Sendai Girls is kind of like, okay. And again, we get Sendai Girls because now we subscribe to Wrestle Universe. Thank you, Marigold. So, and Tokyo Joshi Pro and Noah. So that's just like, oh, wow, this works for me because I'm going to watch it regardless. And I think I was texting you back and forth when a couple hours after they announced this matches. I think that this is going to be very much like the Soriano match, maybe a 2 or 3 match series where maybe Shuri gets the win over Miko Wada in this match in Miko Wada's backyard here in Sendai Girls, and then Miko Wada comes over to Stardom and challenges Shuri. Maybe that's a match we have at Sumo Hall. Maybe it's a match that we're doing next year for either at a Korakuen Hall show or for Supreme Fight, the anniversary show. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a one-off. I hope it's not a one-off. And again, I hope this leads to a tag match somewhere down the line. And again, I also said that Shuri is kind of still in this feud with Hate. We kind of forgot about it when the 5-star started. So it's like, I'd like to kind of see that ramped up a bit. And I would like to see, and I know I texted this to you and you said, don't put hope in, don't put hope. You quoted Hawkeye at Endgame. Like, don't give me hope. Don't give me hope. But I would say, how cool would it be where it's just like Shuri's just like, I'm still outnumbered here because I have 4 or 5 people in my group, like Ami Souri's injured, Tomoka Inaba, we don't know if she's signed full-time or what's going on. I'm outnumbered here by the 84 members of Hate. Maybe she brings Miko Wada in as like an insurance policy. But think about this 6-person tag match. Shuri and Red Energy, Takase and Miko Wada taking on Momo Watanabe, Sayaka Matani, and Konami. Like,
you're not wrong. It will be great.
I'm printing you money. All right, we know you're listening. We're printing you money. We're selling you tickets. But again, again, we've seen Stardom. They're wrestling. The wrestlers are wrestling all over the place. Obviously, we've seen them in AEW, New Japan, which we'll talk about a little bit. Catch the Wave, Diane. I mean, they're all over. But it seems like the Sendai Girls one is the one that's like benefiting the fans because we're getting the top stars. We're getting the Miko Wadas, the Takases. We saw Mina Shirakawa go over there. We saw Momo Watanabe have that great hardcore match with Dash. So it's like, and it really seems like the Sendai Girls one is where they're benefiting the most. But it's Stardom that's sending the stars over there. And I know Sendai Girls doesn't like to announce. Somebody told me, and again, it might have been our friends over at the Stardom Quest. I think they're the ones that told me. Or it could have been Scott, our buddy Scotty Raston, told me that Sendai Girls doesn't like to announce their attendance. So it's like you kind of don't know where their attendance is. Like, again, I'm a numbers guy. Again, wrestling's subjective, but you can see, okay, if we sold 100 tickets and then we did 125 and then we did 200, we're doing something right. We're on the upward trajectory. I think things we're doing right. So it just seems like to me, because I am watching a decent amount of Sendai Girls because of how much I like Chihiro Hashimoto and you, and not you, Rob Goodwin, and you, the listeners, but you, the wrestler as well, and you, who the drink. But obviously, again, I'm a huge fan of Miko Wada. I'm a huge fan of Dash Chisako. I'm a huge fan, obviously, of Minami, because we did see her in the 5-star. But I've noticed these shows, especially this one that has this tag match we're just talking about, it seems like the seats are a little more full. So it seems like when the Stardom wrestlers are going over, they're filling the houses more. Now, I'm assuming, though, that some of the extra money that they're getting is going back to either Shuri or Mina Shirakawa or, to the office like they used to do with the NWA back in the 70s and 80s. They would get a cut. But I'm kind of wondering when some of these Sendai Girls wrestlers are going to come over a little bit more to Stardom. Again, we Kawaku. She's coming over for the team with Maesara. It's part of Star Fox, again, for you Super Nintendo fans in the 90s. Great name. We saw Mika Wada do a couple shots, and obviously we did see Manami, and she did a great job in the 5-star Grand Prix, but like, when are we going to get Red Energy in for a few shows? Like, and again, it's not like Stardom is sending over. Like, obviously they sent over Aya Sakura, but like they sent over Momo Watanabe, main eventer. They sent over Shuri, and we're sending her over again, main eventer. Sent over Mina Shirakawa, main eventer. So it's like, when is Stardom going to get some of these main eventers coming over for a few shows? And I know we had our fingers crossed that we thought we were getting Mika Wada in the 5-star Grand Prix. That didn't happen. And not only that, I'm sure you have it in the news, they're sending Soriano over there for a big match as well. So it's like, again, and obviously she's been over there before. Natsupoi's been over there. So they're helping them, drawing them tickets, because the biggest stars are in Stardom as far as Joshi goes. So it's like, I'm just wondering when we're going to get like a Takase or a Mika Wada back over in Stardom for a few shows. But regardless, I'm loving this relationship that they're doing with all the companies, but especially Sendai Girls, because we are getting these dream matches. And again, maybe saying, Matt, people use dream. Wait, I'm all for it. Give me the dream while I'm awake.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, if we get that opportunity, especially with that Sumo Hall show coming up, obviously we have seen Mikuri Wata in Stardom facing Saori Anou at the conversion for the white belt. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do see something with her again down the line, especially when you consider the match that they have announced, which we're going to talk about very, very shortly. It is worth noting that Aya Sakura did beat Yuna to progress to the final of the Jaja Uma tournament, which I always say incorrectly. She would go on to face Chi-Chi at the 20th of October show in Shinkiba First Ring in the final. Unfortunately, she did come up short. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet, but apparently it was a very, very good match. Both women impressed massively. Matt, that match that you said had been announced, Sayori versus Mikuri Wata, the 22nd of November, Sendai Pit. Now, unless I'm very much mistaken, and I might well be, I was under the impression that if Mikuri Wata was to successfully defend against Manami on the 20th, which she did, if she is to successfully defend against Dash Chisako as well, I was under the impression that this was for the Sendai Girls World Championship. If Mikuri Wata was to retain in those two previous defenses. Again, I might have completely made that up, and if I have, I apologize. There is definitely at least a singles match happening on the 22nd of November, though, and that, Matt Turner, is very exciting. However, that's not the only thing that's exciting, because, of course, you did bring it up. Sendai Girls' big show in Niigata. Meiko Satomura on her retirement tour has announced a singles match with none other than Saori Anou, 9th of November, as I mentioned. Matt, that is going to be brilliant. One of the best strikers in Joshi, and Meiko Satomura proved in that Tokyo Joshi Pro tag match just how well she can still go against one of the most elasticated sellers in all of Joshi, and Saori Anou. This has the potential to be right up my alley.
Yeah, they say styles make fights, and we made mention how Shuri and Mika Wada, they kind of work the same style. Where Saori Anou and Meiko Satomura, they're not exactly like that. They're a little bit different. Obviously, Saori Anou is very good at striking, nowhere near on Meiko Satomura's level, but really who is. But she's going to be able to sell those strikes in a completely different way and take the big bumps. Meiko Satomura does a really good Death Valley bomb, and you know that Saori Anou is going to take that like it looks like, for lack of a better term, death. And you know that Soriano is going to be able to give it right back with the German suplexes, with the fisherman suplex, just with the smoothness that she is. But I think this is a great, going to be one of Meiko Satomura's final singles matches before she rides off in the sunset. And this one very well can be her best match on this retirement tour, because Soriano is one of the best wrestlers in the world, regardless of gender, and is on an absolute tear. She did a great job Pardon me, she had a great performance and a great showing in the 5-star Grand Prix. She's doing a great job in Cosmic Angels, whether it's in her, Tam, and Saruri, or her, Tam, and Natsupoi as the work rate angels, or her teaming with Yuna, or her basic coaching along Ai and Sayaka. Soriano is at the top of her game, the best that she's ever looked. And she's been fantastic over these last few years. And yeah, we're getting Mako Satomura, a very motivated Mako Satomura, making sure that she gives 110% in these final few matches. And again, folks, if you haven't seen it, go back, watch that tag match she had with Joshi in Tokyo Joshi Pro from Cork and Hall just about a month or so ago, because her and Miyu Yamashita, they kicked the daylights out of each other. And I feel like this is going to be somewhere the same. I think this is going to be absolutely fantastic. And again, it just seems like Sendai Girls is just cranking out, like, again, sorry, dream match after dream match. Like, they should just call them Sendai Dream Girls, because that's really what we're getting. It's like, that's a match that I didn't know that I wanted to see until I saw the graphic come up. I'm like, oh, all right, I'm all there for it. So yeah, again, really great stuff. And this working relationship that Stardom has with Sendai Girls, it's really ultimately, I mean, it's benefiting us, the fans, and it's all great stuff that we get to talk about. And even though it's happening in a Sendai Girls ring and a Sendai Girls show, we're obviously going to talk about it over here on the Stardom Cast.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. A chance to talk about a Mako Satomura match? Absolutely. Moving on to more Stardom talent abroad, but moving to my neck of the woods, England. Friday, the 1st of November, London Pro Wrestling Eve have announced that both Momo Watanabe and Konami are going to be joining the Medusa Complex, Millie McKenzie and Charlie. Oh God, I can never remember her name. That's bad, isn't it? Charlie Evans, not Charlie Taylor, Charlie Evans, sorry. For an also 8-woman tag against Alex Windsor, Session Moth Martina, Emerson Jane, and Kanji. So that you will be able to watch live via YouTube or at watchevewrestling.com. You will have to become a channel member, though, so it will be paid for, but you can watch it via YouTube via their members section of YouTube. So, Matt, very, very exciting to see that as well, and see Momo Watanabe in the land of Iron Maiden, because I know that she'll be massively, massively over.
Yeah, in the land of Iron Maiden, she just might be bringing the number of the beast, buddy. Oh, look at me.
Final Stardom wrestlers abroad then. Obviously, we mentioned it earlier, the number 1 contendership, 4-way for the Strong Women's Championship on Fighting Spirit Unleashed. Anna Jay and a mystery opponent were already announced. Obviously, Hazuki and Koguma, as we're going to be talking about a bit later, both members of Fukuoka Double Crazy, will be a part of that 4-way after winning the Battle Royale in Fuji. It will be the first time that Hazuki has been abroad since 2019. Well, no, let me correct myself. It's the first time Hazuki has been in the US since 2019. I believe it's the first time that Koguma has wrestled in the US. So that is very exciting. The mystery opponent was also announced to be Trish Adora, who we have seen wrestle many times, especially when it comes to New Japan Strong. That is very exciting. So the full lineup for that match is now Anna Jay, Hazuki, Koguma, and Trish Adora. Matt, that match at Fighting Spirit Unleashed, 8th of November, is going to be very, very good.
Yeah, and I know it's pretty much it's a 4 corners match. It's every lady for themselves. I wouldn't be shocked if we see some FWC teamwork, and this will be the first time that we see a little FWC teamwork over not only in the United States, but again, I mentioned it last week, the Boston area is a hardcore city when it comes to their sports. Again, whether it's the Bruins for hockey, the Celtics just won the NBA championship, I think, for the 17th time in their franchise history. They really, really, and again, you watch any of those WWF shows or any pro wrestling, or even like some of the ECW shows back in the 90s, those fans are rabid. And I think all 4 of these wrestlers are going to get over really well. And again, I'm saying this not only with my heart, but with my head. I think Hazuki's going to be one of the over wrestlers on that entire show.
1,000%.
Because she represents what the Boston fans love, and that's hard-hitting, action that's going to leave out everything there 110%. We've seen Hazuki do it in front of 200 people, and we've seen Hazuki do it in front of 4,000 people. Hazuki, we always tell her, say that she's no days off. Hazuki, the wrestling machine, the people's champion, and Hazuki is somebody that is going to get over massive. I think she's going to get a huge pop when she goes there. And I think that just based on her performance and what she's going to be able to do in the ring with those other 3 great wrestlers, I think the people that don't know too much of her are going to be massive fans for Hazuki. This is a huge opportunity, obviously, for all 4 wrestlers, but especially Hazuki and Koguma. Because, again, Koguma's a great wrestler. You're going to get some of the comedy in there as well. We saw it with her and Anna Jay in the 5-star. It was fun stuff. We're going to get, again, the Kuma dance, the bear dance. That's going to be fun. Trish Adora is a great wrestler and ever improving every time that I see her out. But this is going to be a really, really good match. Partner, did they make mention, is this elimination style or one fall takes it all? I don't think they made mention of that yet.
One fall.
One fall takes it all. Since we're talking about it, buddy, your prediction.
It's got to be Hazuki, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You're right. Like, she's going to come out and she is going to be so over. I imagine the pop that she's going to get is going to be great. I can't wait for Boston to be doing the Kuma dance. I really can't. I think it will come down to Hazuki and Anna Jay. But I think that, especially if they're going to do this in Japan, which it feels like they will, I think that Hazuki is the person to go for, because she is all reliable. She will be able to put on a fantastic match with whoever you put in there. I would not at any point begrudge Koguma having an opportunity, because she has been wildly entertaining recently, not only because of the comedy, but she's towing that line between the comedy and showing everyone that she is a bloody good wrestler. So I wouldn't be opposed to Koguma having a shot. However, I feel with the story of Hazuki, at the moment, I can see her being the one touted for that big title opportunity. Where it is, I don't know. Could be Wrestle Dynasty, could be Sumo Hall, could be the Goddess of Stardom Tag League Finals. Who knows?
I agree. I think it's going to be Hazuki for a lot of the reasons you just said, but at the same time, Mercedes is somebody that's picking her opponents, and she has earned that right 100%. No disrespect to the other 3 ladies. Massive respect, especially on Anna Jay and her improvement and what she did at the 5-star Grand Prix. Where's the biggest money match? Where's the biggest draw? No matter where they do it, it's Hazuki. No disrespect to all the other 3 ladies. I think they're all fantastic wrestlers. It's Mercedes versus Hazuki. And we saw a little bit of that in that 3-way that they had with Azumi back in the first quarter of 2023. As far as where the match goes, they're doing another Strong Style Evolve show. I believe it was a week after the finals of the Goddess Tournament in California, at the Walter Pyramid. And Mercedes Moné is smack dab right in the middle of the promotion poster.
Yeah, it makes sense to do with that, doesn't it?
My guess is it's going to happen there. My guess, and this is just me throwing it out there because they kind of teased it a week before this Battle Royal, and we kept saying we thought Starlight Kid was going to be one of the participants. My guess is Starlight Kid's going to be on this show as well, and that after Mercedes defeats Suzuki, that Starlight Kid then challenges Mercedes for Sumo Hall, because that's a big money matchup. Starlight Kid is a big merch seller. She's somebody that's wildly over here in the United States, and I think that obviously somebody that's wildly over in Japan. I think if you put on this, you know what? No, because I think they're going to do Starlight Kid and Natsupoi at Sumo Hall. I might have just talked myself out of that. I don't know. We'll see. We'll be all here for it. She's going to wrestle twice. Why not?
Lucky roller coaster that was. Like, we started up here and then just... with it being, I completely forgot about Strong Style Evolved. For some strange reason, I'd got him mixed up with Battle in the Valley and thought that was in 2025, and it's not. They might just go Anna Jay. With it being in the US, they might just do Mercedes Moné and Anna Jay, but that's a match that you could just do in AEW. So I don't know. It's going to be very interesting either way, and I don't know how we didn't see that. Of course, Hazuki and Koguma were going to go through. Why would a tag team not tag up together and then win a battle royal where two people win. How did we? Both of us were like, "Oh, it's going to be Hazuki and Starlight Kid, those two women that hate each other. It's definitely not going to be the tag team."
And then we're like, maybe a Hanako, maybe Soriano. We'll talk about it. Starlight Kid and Soriano were eliminated 3 minutes in. We're like,
yeah. They were the first ones eliminated. And I was like, as soon as Starlight Kid hit the floor, I was like, it's going to be Hazuki and Koguma. Why did I think it was going to be anyone else?
Because we look at it like this: if we were to give those 8 participants to our significant others and said 2 people will qualify, they would be like, well, it's got to be Hazuki and Koguma. Not only are they a tag team, you guys always talk about they're like the best tag team in the world. Why wouldn't they win? And we'd be like, what do you know? Be like, who won? We'd be like, oh, never mind. The match got canceled.
Stupid Stardom. Stupid match. I didn't even watch it. Want to watch it anyway. Just changing gears ever so slightly for the last bit of this. Marigold have announced their cards for the back-to-back Shinkiba shows they are doing. So they're running 2 shows on the 27th of October, which is a Sunday, at Shinkiba First Ring. The first card is as follows, and I'm going to spend a terrible amount of time on this, and you will see why. But the card is as follows: 3-way match, Victoria Yuzuki versus Hummingbird versus Kamoma Minami. We've then got a singles match, Kazuna Tanaka versus Naho Yamada, who will be making her debut, of course, at Korakuen Hall. There's a tag match, Ria Sato and Minami Yuki taking on Nao Ishikawa and Myla Grace. Miko Ano and Nanae Takahashi versus Bozilla and Chiaki. And then in your main event, or at least what is posted as your main event currently, Mirai, Mai Sakurai, and Natsumi Shozuki versus Utami Hayashishita, Koki Amare, and Misa Matsui. But Matt, that is not the main event of this announcement, because not only did Marigold announce that the Mask Fiesta is back, but they've announced the participants. And that means one thing, brother. That means it's time for another round of Who's Under the Mask.
Here we go. Hey, real quick, I meant to tell this story before, but now I get to see your face. So I did talk to, once this announcement was announced, we're doing Mask Fiesta, I was emailing Sonny, who obviously we talked to quite a bit. And I was joking. I said, are you going to be under a mask? You should be under Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator mask. And he responded back. He said, no, it's just the wrestlers. And I'm like, I'm only joking. I wasn't being serious.
So disappointed.
Because we were talking about our favorite sequels, and then we're going to have him on the show hopefully sometime soon once we can figure out the schedule. And one thing we're going to do is talk about our 5 favorite movie sequels. And I know me and him have Terminator 2 up there. So that it was kind of melding the 2 conversations. I said, yeah, you're sitting there shooting film and you have an Arnold Terminator 2 mask. And he's like, no, it's only the rest of them. I'm only joking. But anyway, we're getting serious all the time.
Now, so there is more to be announced, but there are 3 matches currently. Now, I'm hoping that you haven't got the match cards and the match graphics in front of you, because if you have, that's bloody cheating. Turn it off.
No, Lily just texted me. That's why I just looked at it. She just said how she misses Ace. That was it. I wouldn't do that.
To be fair, I miss Ace as well. Now, okay, so we're going to start easy, just like we did last time, ladies and gentlemen. You can, of course, play at home. So, couple of nice, easy ones for you. The Flaming German, which may legitimately be the best name.
Oh, jeez, that sounds like an X-rated movie. That's got to be Bozilla, right?
Yes, absolutely. It is indeed. Imagine the first one. Wild Wolf.
That's got to be Chiaki.
Correct. We're going to go a couple more easy ones, and then we're going to go into the really difficult ones.
Easing me into it. All right, I like this.
I'm not an animal. Come on. So we then have a returning star to Mask Fiesta. The only returning star to Mask Fiesta, to my knowledge, Passion 7.
Oh. When you said returning, obviously that's Nanae Takahashi, but when you said returning, I thought maybe like a returning wrestler, where I was going to say Momo Nakanishi. But no, that's obviously Pash. I wonder if she screams so. I wonder if she screams so much the mask comes off.
It just explodes. last easy one then, and then we'll move on to some of the trickier ones. Yuzu Chika.
Oh, go Chica. Chica Goto.
It is not.
Oh,
It
that would be Victoria Zuki.
There you go. Now again,
that's like a melding of them. That was like a meld of them. Okay.
There are more people to be announced, so we may well see some other ones. However, okay. Oh no, there's a really easy one here. Hummingbird.
That would be CM Punk. No,
that is correct. That is correct. As we know, the M in CM Punk does indeed stand for Hummingbird. So, we have got another couple of interesting ones. So, I'm really going to butcher this, and I'm so sorry. Seog.
I'm going to say Natsumi Shozuki.
Nope.
Misa Matsui.
Myla Grace. Now, I believe that it's either Syog. I know I'm butchering that. So if we've got any people who listen that know Irish language, I'm sure it's an Irish word. I don't know it, but that is Myla Grace. Crystal Marie.
Crystal Marie. Would that be Chica Goto? Kokiyamare. Crystal. Nope. There's no Marie and there's no Crystal. I'm going to. Oh, that's got to be Sakurai.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I was thinking of Crystal. I'm like, oh, how did I miss that? Okay.
Let's do another couple. Butterfly Queen.
That's Kokiyamare.
That is Kokiyamare.
Okay.
Yeah, her mask, by the way, tremendous. Hers and Bozilla's, I think, are my favorite ones.
Bozilla just really weird because again, I look at her, she's like Stan Hansen. Can you imagine Stan Hansen coming out in a mask?
Just she looks like she's ready to kill, and I kind of love that. And then the final one, because this could literally be anybody. Queen O'Lantern.
Queen, it's got to be Utami, right?
No.
Wait, O'Lantern. Are they bringing in the Green Goblin from the Marvel Cinematic Universe? William Dafoe. Queen O'Lantern. You figure with Queen, Mirai?
Nope.
Give me one more guess. I'm going to say Sonny Gutierrez.
Imagine. I think that's how we're going to introduce him when we have him on. No, it's not Natsumi Shozuki. So the card so far, and it does say more to be announced, is the Flaming German, which is Bozilla versus Wild Wolf, which is Chiaki versus Syog. Again, I'm sure I'll learn how to pronounce it. That's Myla Grace. We've then got a trios match, which is Mirataros, which is Mirai, Crystal Marie, which is obviously my Sakurai, and MM, which is Misa Matsui. And they will be taking on Passion 7, which is Nanae Takahashi, Yuzuchika, which is Victoria Yuzuki, and Kinyan, which is Kazuna Tanaka. And then the last match that they've actually announced so far is Eichmann Mask, which is Utami, Butterfly Queen, which is Kokiyamare, Hummingbird, which is, as we know, the CM Punk, Queen O'Lantern, which is Natsumi Shozuki, Rio de Piedra. That's Naoshi Ishikawa, which I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure if I knew Spanish, that would make sense. And then you have got Merci, as in the French for thank you, which is Miko Aono.
Ah. Mercy to everybody that actually kicks that show.
Exactly. So yes, that is the Mask Fiesta. That is the evening show on the 27th of October. Both those cards that we have gone through, by the way, those are going to be live on Wrestle Universe, but they won't have English commentary. Right, so that being said, let's talk about some match reviews. And we're going to be starting in Toyama, 14th of October 2024 from Bolford, Toyama. Of course, we knew Xena and Hanan would be missing these shows through injury. Hanan will be back for the Goddess of Storm Tag League show. Unfortunately, Xena has a far longer injury. She has apparently torn a ligament in her knee. We're still waiting for confirmation as to how long she will be out, but it doesn't sound great, unfortunately. Just an attendance note, this is the 6th time Stardom have run the venue in their history, the 2nd time this year. The average attendance at this venue is 362, with this show being marginally up from the last time they ran the venue, which is 364 people on June 9th, 2024. They drew 371, which also marks the 3rd highest attendance that they've got at Bolford Toyama. So a solid number, if nothing else. We have, as your results then, singles match, Syuri defeated Rian with the Suzaku in 9 minutes and 11 seconds. In a tag team match, the Stars team of Koguma and Saya Ida defeated the Crazy Star team of Suzu Suzuki and Mei Seira, with Koguma pinning Suzu Suzuki with the Kuma roll in 10 minutes and 33 seconds. In a tag team match, Rice or Bread, Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama defeated the God's Eye team of Rani Agami and Lady C, with Waka Tsukiyama rolling up Lady C with a small package in 10 minutes and 46 seconds. Tag team action next. The EXVA team of Maika and Mina Shirakawa defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Aya Sakura and Yuna Mizumori, with Maika pinning Aya Sakura with the Ankara Toshi in 12 minutes and 43 seconds. Semi-main event, the Hate team of Momo Watanabe, Sayaka Matani, and Konami defeated the Stars team of Mai Iwatani, Hazuki, and Momokogo, with Konami pinning Momokogo after a buzzsaw kick in 11 minutes and 15 seconds. And then in your main event, another 6-woman tag. The Neo Genesis team of Starlight Kid, Azumi, and Miyu Amasaki defeated the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Saori Ano, and Sayaka Kurura. Miyu Amasaki pinning Kurura with the Tenzai in 16 minutes and 38 seconds. Matt, a decent enough show. The first thing, obviously, we're going to talk about is Syuri and Rian. And I don't mind telling you that I genuinely feared for Rian's safety to begin with in this match, especially when she started trying to go almost toe-to-toe with Syuri in the grappling game, which I thought was an interesting way to approach this match.
Yeah, this match is kind of a glorified squash, which really Stardom doesn't do. And again, Stardom usually starts these shows off with a hot match. Maybe they should have. And I thought this was a great show for the amount of for how long the show was. I thought this was a terrific show. I might have put match number 2 on first, but at the same time, and we'll get into that main event, the crowd was molten hot for that main event. Yeah. But yeah, this was almost like a glorified squash, which usually I don't rate, but I actually rated this one 3.25 stars because Syuri is so smooth when it comes to the grappling. Like, I am so impressed by how she's able to meld, and we've been talking about it for years, how she melds the MMA style into pro wrestling and does it as a baby face. Usually when we see those MMAs like the Minoru Suzuki, who I think is like the best ever at doing it, they kind of come across as a heel because they can bully their opponent around, where Syuri is able to do it in a babyface way. And Rian gets a couple shots in here, but ultimately it's just Syuri just being too much and then ultimately tapping her out with a grounded Suzaku. And then afterwards she gets her hand raised, and then she checks on her. So I thought that was a very decent of Syuri. Again, yeah, you're absolutely right. Syuri really took the young rookie to task here. And yeah, again, 3.25 stars. It was a glorified squash, but Syuri is just so smooth when it comes to the grappling. And again, we talked about how we have that Miko Wada match coming up, and hopefully there's more stuff to do for Syuri, because it seems like ever since she lost the World of Stardom Championship, coming on to almost 2 years now, with the exception of a few things here or there hasn't been any main event things for Syuri to do. She's had great runs in the 5-star Grand Prix the last 2 years, has not had a red belt match since she lost to Julia. So I just think Syuri's so talented. You know, one of probably my top 10 favorite wrestlers in all of wrestling, maybe even top 5. I would just love for them to do something with her. And again, I know this was a glorified squash here, but I'm just so impressed how she's able to transition to the takedowns, to the arm bars, to the knee bars, to the kicks, to back down to the. I mean, she's one of the best ever to do it at that MMA style. Absolutely terrific. But yeah, Rianne's got this. She'll be okay. She'll be okay. And this was a lesson for her. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, it did feel like Shuri could end it whenever she wanted, but I think we have got to shout out Rianne for the amount of heart that she showed, because it can't be easy staring across the ring from someone who has legitimate shoot fighting experience and legitimate big match experience. So to do that, and not only do that but show that amount of heart, I think is admirable for Rianne. So we then move on to this match here. Crazy Star versus not Wingori Stars, sorry. Koguma and Sayaka. And Matt, despite the talent in this match, I think it's fair to say that it feels like there's something hanging over this match. And I mean physically, because Sayaka got her hoodie stuck in the lighting rig, and genuinely, it was apparently the most fun that people have had at a Stardom show. The crowd loved it. People couldn't focus on the match. It was a really good match. And once we got over that initial sort of, Sayaka's thing's up there, it's not coming down, we got a very, very, very solid match, which we knew we'd get. However, my MVP of this match is Koguma. I thought Koguma was absolutely fantastic here. Again, I mentioned her before when we were talking about that four-way and how she's towing that line between the comedy and the fact that she is a bloody good wrestler. And she's done that perfectly here. She was melding that comedy, but still then going out and having fantastic exchanges, especially with Suzu Suzuki. And we can't overshadow how big a victory that actually is, how sort of a shocking pinfall that is for Suzu Suzuki. So considering that less than 2 weeks ago she was fighting for the red belt, and now Koguma has the pinfall win over her. That's a big thing for Koguma, and obviously that's setting her up for this four-way in America. But overall, I thought this was a really good match. I'm glad to see that when the ladder came out, they did not put Mayu at the top of it. I think that's fair, and I think that's the right thing to do. Very, very smart, very smart. But yeah, I thought overall this was a really entertaining match, but one that will solely be remembered probably for the fact that Sayaka got her hoodie stuck.
Yeah, it was. And again, I don't know if this was by design, but I think they realized that, like, okay, they're here kind of for comedy after we almost saw near murder in the opening match with Shuri Borian. Oh, really? And they got, and Sayaka's done this before, but it was something where I think Hazuki was able to get on the top rope and pull it down, where this was like, if they had to get a proper ladder.
It was miles in the air, yeah.
Yeah, it was a little high up, and they popped for it, and it was just like, okay, they're kind of into the comedy. Let's not get into, and again, I don't know if this was by design or they called an audible. Regardless, it was just like, we can't go into the Suzu Suzuki May Sarah phenomenal tag work right off the bat because they're popping for the comedy. We have Koguma in there. So how are we going to set this match off? Kuma. And then we kind of take them down. We have the comedy. We have the high speed. Again, Koguma's a former high-speed champion. Her stuff with May Sarah here was terrific. Sayaka and Suzu Suzuki, they lay into each other. And then we get the great tag work that is Crazy Star. I mean, just absolutely fantastic stuff with the two of them. Sayaka and Koguma, again, we talk about stars. They have the 6 people in there. They have their 3 set tag teams, but with Peach Rock, with Wingori, and of course with FWC. But we've seen it, eye contact with Han and Mayu Utani. We've seen them been able to kind of mix things up. They're kind of like, Sayaka and Koguma, that's one that I really haven't seen before. But they worked really well together. And it helps when you have a great team and 2 great wrestlers with Crazy Star, with May Sarah and Suzu Suzuki. So there was really great stuff there. Again, the crowd just started coming down from the comedy, and then Ida and Sarah ramp it up with their kind of high-speed offense, and the crowd pops really, really hard when May Sarah does that Oklahoma roll that sends Sayaka to her feet, whips her off the rope, and hits that brutal drop kick, and then the crowd pops again. So again, they do a great job on crowd psychology, taking them through the different levels of tag wrestling, singles wrestling, high-speed wrestling, comedy in the beginning. And then once May Sarah hits that drop kick, it's all bets are off. It's like, now we're going to the Stardom style that we're all here for. And ultimately, it's just a lot of great tag work from Crazy Star that eventually, though, Koguma is able to outlast and out-trick Suzu Suzuki, gets the Kuma roll for the 3 count. 10 minutes, I thought was plenty of time to tell their story, and they did. This was a match that was hovering right around that 3 3/4 to 4 stars. But as you know, partner, you're a teacher. Extra credit. We got to give extra credit for the crowd being hot. This one hit the 4-star mark for me, my friend, because the crowd was so hot for this match, and these 4 wrestlers did the right things at the right time to get the most out of the crowd. So your crowd psychology bumps this up to 4 stars for me. Fantastic match.
Rice or bread versus God's Eye, then. We basically have the current challenges for the New Blood tag titles against potential future challengers. And overall, I thought this was a really, really good, fast-paced match. And obviously, you're not going to have Hanako and Waka Tsukiyama lose, especially as they are literally, a couple of days later challenging for those New Blood tag titles. But I thought that both Ronnie Yagami and Lady C really gave a good account of themselves. Ronnie Yagami was great on the defensive, and those exchanges, the brief exchanges that we did get between Hanako and Lady C were really, really good. We got the comedy here from Waka Tsukiyama, a lot of ass-based offense, but we didn't get that then in the title match, which I was a big fan of, sort of differentiating from, house show, bum-based offense, Waka, to title match, all seriousness, Waka. And I think that's the right way to go. Overall, a good match, gave the challengers the necessary momentum heading into that title match.
Yeah, there's really good stuff with Randigami and Hanako. Again, we actually kind of forgot just how tall Hanako is until that we saw the press conference last week, and she's standing next up to Micah. We're like, she's like a foot taller than Micah. Not really, but it was like, wow. So she has that base for the strikers, and that's where Ronnie Yagami, her game is. So there was a great job. She was able to base herself and feed herself for those mid kicks, for those forms from Ronnie Yagami. So that was really, really good. Some really interesting stuff between the two of them. But yeah, a big crux of this match was the brief interchanges with Lady C and Hanako. It really seems on these Stardom World shows, Lady C really seems to show out. She knows that she's not at the top of the card. I mean, the top of the card is so stacked with your Azumi, your Tam, your Mayu, your Micah. I mean, So Suzu. So it really seems like if she's on a match on the pay-per-views, she's in a multi-person match, and maybe she's in the ring for 2 or 3 minutes. But when it comes to these Stardom World shows, they really give her the ball, and boy, howdy does she run with it. And she ran with it here. She might have been the MVP on this match, one of the MVPs on this entire tour. I thought she was great. And her and Waka, their closing stretch, I thought was really, really interesting. The fact that Waka is able to get a surprise roll-up on Lady C. Again, we're giving Waka more wins. We talked about how she had that build 2 years ago where it's just like, can she win? Can she win? And maybe the build went a little bit too long. And then she finally pins Nanae Takahashi. She gets a couple wins in the Cinderella tournament a couple years ago, or last year. And then kind of fizzled out, but it really seems like she's getting some more wins on these Stardom World shows. And this is a good way to give them momentum going into their main event match to challenge Azusa Inaba and Rina for those New Blood Tag Team Championships. So, yeah, really, really good match. These two teams gelled really well, and I would love to see them run it back a few more times because they had really great chemistry. 3 3/4 stars for me, my friend.
Speaking of running it back, Mina and Micah versus Yuna Mizumori and Aya Sakura. I am going to spend a lot of this episode waxing lyrical about how improved Aya Sakura is and how well she's doing and how she is progressing into so much more than just another rookie. I think she's done tremendous work. She had a fantastic match with Rina. She's done really well during the Jaja Uma tournament in Sendai Girls. And I thought here, when she was being utterly brutalized by Mina and Micah, I thought she was a brilliant babyface in peril, to the point where the crowd were molten hot for her comebacks when she was attacking Micah. But dude, I want to see more Yuna Mizumori and Micah, just two bulls clashing and refusing to give way. We've said many, many times that Yuna Mizumori has to be up there as one of the most improved wrestlers in the entirety of wrestling, never mind just in Stardom. She's finally getting a singles title match, which she fully deserves, and I think they're going to knock it out of the park at Korakuen Hall, which I'm really excited for. But here versus Micah, I thought she was great. And Aya Sakura, round of applause for that fighting spirit, because it really got the crowd going as well.
It's interesting that you have you really want to see Yuna versus Micah, and I'm all about that. But literally, my note here is I want to see Mina versus Yuna because they have almost like a fast-paced start. Where again,
It was very good, yeah.
we're building Yuna up for that high-speed challenge match, and we saw when we reviewed last week's round of shows, she can hang with May Sarah in that high-speed style. And then we see here that her and Mina go a little high-speed, and then they bring it down to the hard-hitting style. So I totally agree. I'm all about a Yuna versus Micah match. I'm all about a Yuna versus Mina match, which I guess me and you are basically just trying to say we're all about some more Yuna Mizumori in our lives because she's terrific. But you're absolutely right. Aya Sakura, her comeback, her fighting spirit, the way she's able to sell and then bring that through towards her finishing stretch where she's really just trying to chop down the tree that is the main event of Micah, with eventually Micah just overpowering her with her experience, her size, her strength. Obviously, Mina plays her role really well, getting Yuna out at the end of the match. Ultimately, it's the Anka Toshi that puts away the high kick angel, I think that they're calling her now, and one Aya Sakura. Another 3 3/4 stars match for me, my friend. I thought that was absolutely terrific. And I'm going to pull you because it seems like it's getting a little dark. I don't know if we can see Mayu's face there, so I'm just going to do a hit this light up. I'm going to pull a Metallica, and I'm going to hit the lights.
Lovely stuff. Yeah, I've been massively impressed with Aya Sakura, and genuinely at one point thought this was going to be the biggest pop of the night, but that was reserved for the main event, and we're going to be talking about that very, very shortly. But before we get there, semi-main event action, Stars versus Hate. And Matt, would you believe it? Because I was gobsmacked. I was not expecting this, but Hate jumped the bell. And not only did they jump the bell, Matt, just hold on. They went chair bowling.
What?
I know.
I have that here. My first note. Oh my goodness. Wow.
I was shocked. I didn't know where to look. I could not believe it. It's never happened before. However, I'm willing to let that slide because we got just another brief but fantastic exchange between Mayu and Momo Watanabe. And I am so happy with that. Between that, the brief exchanges with Hazuki and Momo and Hazuki and Saya, I'm willing to forget. I'm willing to forgive and forget a little bit of chair bowling. It's fine.
You look at this match on paper, obviously you're going to have the chair bowling. And I noticed when they did the chair bowling, the way that they paired off these teams in the chair bowling, you had Sayaka Kamatani and Hazuki. Again, greatest Wonder Stardom Championship match of all time, and I know you agree with me. Mayu Iwatani and Momo Watanabe, maybe the second or third best rivalry in the history of Stardom, probably behind Io and Mayu and probably Tam and Julia. Again, subjective. So that just leaves Konami and Momo Kogo. And after the chair bowling and straight violence, we get heat on Momo Kogo, right? And again, this is going to happen. Who's going to take the heat here?
It's the formula for Stars at the moment.
Yeah, not only that, but you always want to you have two different ways of looking at it. When you do the heat, you want to have your best seller and or the person you're making the hot tag to your more explosive wrestler. I always say in Team in Blue and Gold, the reason why I take the heat is because I'm the better seller. It really has nothing to do with that. Just that Andy Hedder's comeback is really explosive. That's the whole reason. But anywho, so it's like, who's the more explosive wrestler, Hazuki or Mayu? Heads you win, tails you win, right? So Momo Kogo does a great job selling. Obviously, like if you look at this on paper, Mayu's the best seller, maybe the best seller in all of wrestling. Now that Tanahashi's a year away from retirement, right? So it's just like at the same time, you want to build the Mayu comeback, but we do get Hazuki coming in there. We get great stuff with her and Momo. We get great stuff with her and Kamatani. Eventually, Mayu comes in. She runs. She comes in. They give her a nice shine. That gives Momo Kogo time to recuperate. And then we see some Peach Thunder teamwork. Again, we're building towards the Goddess of Stardom tournament. So you're able to highlight that team there, as well as we highlight Sayaka Kamatani and Konami, their teamwork. Again, considering the fact that they have not teamed a whole lot as far as I know. So they do a great job highlighting their teamwork. Ultimately, though, it just becomes too much hate, too much offense. They're able to basically divide and conquer. They take the two main eventers in Mayu and Hazuki out. They isolate Momo Kogo, buzzsaw kick, dozen one Momo Kogo. This was another excellent match. And again, hot crowd. This was very much like match 2, in between 3 3/4 stars and 4 stars, but I bumped it up to the 4 stars mark because of how hot the crowd was. Again, this was a great show between just the quality of wrestling that we got and how the crowd was into everything. This was a phenomenal Stardom show. Yeah, really great match. And I know that Momo on the last show we're going to review that Mayu wasn't there because she was sick, but then she called Mayu out. So we don't know if we're going to a Mayu versus Momo IWGP Championship match. I would not say no to that. I mean, they've wrestled a dozen times before. I'm ready for dozen number 2, buddy. It's like I just ate a dozen donuts. I washed it down with the peanut butter chocolate milkshake, and I'm ready for my second dozen, buddy.
That peanut butter milkshake was fantastic, by the way, when I had it at yours.
Guess what I have? Guess what I have here, buddy?
Look at that.
It's protein. It's protein, though, folks. So
Protein.
it is. Hey, I'll fall asleep.
Yeah, and one thing as well that it is worth pointing out about Momokogo, you know, I did mention, it's the stars formula, and I don't mean that in a sort of disparaging way. What I mean is that we are building a storyline narrative around Momokogo and the fact that she is losing and costing stars matches, and this is another chapter in that. Her, you know, her fight, her improvement, her fighting spirit, but it's still not enough. And I think this was another perfect encapsulation of that story that we're going into with Peach Rock into the Goddess of Stardom Tag League. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there. The final match then that we're going to be talking about is, of course, Cosmic Angels versus Neo Genesis. And Matt, it's a huge moment for Sayaka Kurura, not because it's a main event, not necessarily because of that, even though, you know, it's a main event. Any main event is a good main event. But the fact that she was able to harness the crowd as well as she did, I think really does show just how much she has improved. The story that she's telling. I think that we are building slowly but surely to a program between Sayaka Kurura and Miyu Amasaki over the future of Stardom Championship. I feel like that's where we are heading, and they're pretty much not only just signposting it, we've got flashing lights and arrows as well. But Sayaka Kurura was the entire focus of this match. It was her explosive start. She was the one who wanted to start this match. She was the one with that brilliant fighting spirit comeback, harnessing the crowd. The crowd pop for that spear was incredible. Of course, it does help when you've got Sayoriano and Starlight Kid making magic in the middle of the match. But even without that, I think the closing stretch between Sayaka Kurura and Miyu Amasaki really did tip this over the edge as a really, really, really good match, man.
This was absolutely fantastic. I mean, as great as the other matches were, and I just waxed, poetically, and this was by far the best match of the show, and the best match of any of these shows matches we're going to review. And yeah, you're right. You start with Miyu and Sayaka, and then you end it. So again, you kind of bookend it. They started off with some really good forearm exchanges, and you have a match where it's just like you're absolutely right. They're clearly highlighting a program with Miyu and Sayaka, and I'm all for it, because if this is a preview of what we're going to get for a future Stardom Championship match or a series of matches, I'm all for it. Considering the fact you have those two in there, then you have Tam, obviously red belt champion, main eventer. Soriano, former Wonder of Stardom champion, main eventer. Azumi, Starlight Kid, main eventers. And again, we talked last week how some people were upset that Azumi and Starlight Kid as Starbomb were not in the Goddess of Stardom tournament tagging. However, we got this match here, right? Again, I mean, we're getting Suzu and Starlight Kid and Azumi and Miyu Amasaki, which we did get here as well. We basically had Azumi's two teams here with Starbomb and O2 Line. And that just shows you what a great wrestler Azumi is, because we've seen her what a great teammate she is with Momo, Saya Kamitani, Utami when she was in Queen's Quest, and now here with the members of Neo Genesis. So that just goes to show you what a great, diverse wrestler Azumi is. And I say it all the time. I'm going to say it again. I think Azumi, with maybe the exception of Will Ospreay, is the most talented wrestler in all of wrestling. I mean, and this just goes to show what a great wrestler she is in this trios match. But you take all that and the MVP and the whole storyline, this match was built around the two younger wrestlers for a potential future of Stardom Championship. How about that? Double future. So yeah, again, this was terrific. And Tam played her role well. Soriano played her role well. Starlight Kid. Everything was great, and this match just kept building and building and building and building. And she hits that spear, and I thought that was the finish, because I was like, the way this match is going, It's like, I know that Miyu just won this belt, but we need to get challenges for her. But at the
Mm.
same time, again, her and Azumi are favorites in this tournament. But the way this match was building, she hits the spear and the crowd pops. And I'm like, this has got to be the finish. I thought that was the finish. And then Miyu kicks out. And I'm like, oh no. Because I thought that might have been. And they actually popped more for a kick out than they did the spear. That is very hard to do. That is just
the palm of their hand by this point.
Not only that, Rob, but it's one thing if it's a singles match, because now you can build, you have 4 other wrestlers that are involved in the finish. So it's just like, ooh, she kicks out of the spear. I'm like, oh, that was the biggest part of the match. At least not only the biggest part of the match, but where you had the crowd the highest, they popped a little more on the kick out, and then it keeps going and going. And then you see Azumi comes in just a little, Starlight Kid comes in a little, Anu comes in a little, and then Tan comes in at the perfect part because I'm sorry, it's Starlight Kid comes at the perfect part because she winds up super kicking Sayaka Kurura that leads to Miyu Amasaki's tensai that actually turns the tide. So it's just like Sayaka Kurura got a little bit of help, not as much help as Miyu did, and Miyu gets the win. So it's like you have that underlining story where Miyu can say, well, to Sayaka, I pinned you. Sayaka be like, yeah, but you need a little more help than I did. And I have the former white belt champion and the current red belt champion. The other 2 wrestlers you've had have never held those 2 belts before. You need a little more help than I did. You can tell that story. Regardless, this was a phenomenal match. I mean, again, nobody does tag wrestling 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4 like Stardom. This is another one in the catalog. 4.25 stars. However, the crowd molten hot, 4.5 stars. Again, crowd part, especially when you have your biggest. Again, I know I just said it, and I'm repeating myself. When they hit the spear and the crowd is here, and then they kick out and you get them here, and then for the finish you get them here, that is really tough to do because sometimes you're like, oh, did we go a little too far? Did we gamble a little bit? Should we ended it here? They didn't. They wind up trusting in themselves and the match, and they were able to get, again, you want your 3 count, your main event to be the biggest pop of the show. Crowd was molten hot for the entire show, especially this match, especially those closing stretches. Excellent stuff. Just a phenomenal match with Cosmic Angels versus Neo Genesis. Terrific finish for a terrific match. Again, 4.5 stars, folks. And if you haven't seen this match, go and watch it because this is one of the best matches I've seen in the entire month of October. And I've seen about 4 or 5 matches.
And the fact that that's built on the back of Sayaka, Kurura, and Miyu Amasaki really does indicate how safe Stardom are in the future because you've got Starlight Kid who's in her early 20s, Azumi who's in her early 20s, Miyu Amasaki who's in her early 20s, Sayaka Kurura who's in her early 20s, and then you put Aya Sakura who I think is 23, you've got Rian who's 19. There is so much talent, young, hungry talent on this roster, and the improvement that we keep seeing is unbelievable. Really, really good. And speaking of young talent, we might as well go straight into our review of New Blood 16 because New Blood 16 happened on Saturday, the 19th of October, 2024. It did air in full on YouTube, and it is still there on the WWR Stardom YouTube page. You can go and check that out. An attendance of 236 people was announced for the Bell Sal at Shinjuku Grand Hall. Now, it's a marked decrease from the 300 plus crowds of the previous New Blood shows, with it being a near 28% fall from New Blood 15. New Blood 15, just for context, 326 people, and they ran that at Japan Pavilion Hall A. In terms of where it stands in the greater sort of lineage of New Blood shows, this is actually the second smallest New Blood attendance in history, with only New Blood 13, which was 224 people at Tokyo New Pier Hall in June, drawing less. So not a great number in terms of New Blood. However, a really, really good show. We open with a singles match, the return of Manami. She defeated Rian with a jumping knee strike in 9 minutes and 6 seconds. God's Eye, Lady C, and Rani Yagami defeated the Cosmic Angels, Aya Sakura and Sayaka Kurura. Rani Yagami pinning Sayaka Kurura with the paradiddle in 13 minutes and 15 seconds. One of the funnest words to say, paradiddle. Tag team match, Neo Genesis, Starlight Kid and Miyu Amasaki defeated Yuna and Spike Nishimura, both making their Stardom debuts, with Starlight Kid submitting Yuna with the Black Tiger leg killer in 11 minutes and 49 seconds. Tag team match, God's Eye, Hina and Tomoka Inaba defeated Honoka and Kohaku, with Tomoka Inaba pinning Honoka with the Inaba drop in 10 minutes and 36 seconds. And then in your main event, New Blood Tag Team Championship match, Devil Princess, the champions, Azusa Inaba and Rina defended successfully for the first time against Rice or Bread, Hanako and Wakasukiyama, with Rina submitting Hanako, which I thought was an interesting way to go, with the hydrangea in 18 minutes and 15 seconds. Matt, before we get into the main event and the title matches and some standout performances, because we've got two different standout performers, especially in that semi-main event, let's talk about the return of Manami. Now, Manami had a Sendai Girls World Championship match literally the day after this. So I would argue that it was the biggest lock on the entirety of this Stardom tour that she wasn't going to get pinned by Rian the day before a title match with Mika Iwata. Nevertheless, it is so good to see Manami again. We haven't seen her since the end of August when she lost to Mika in the 5-star. And she had a really good tournament, and she's just kept progressing and developing. And here, even though she's, I don't want to say only in the ring with Rian, because that sounds really disparaging to Rian, and that's not fair, but she's with a rookie. She led the match really, really well and towed that line of complete domination, but also giving those hope spots to Rian. And all in all, I thought they constructed a really good match, considering, you know, it was the opener. She was never going to lose. I still think they constructed a good match.
Yeah, this was a solid match, a really good way to start the show. And in my opinion, this is what a New Blood show should be. You have your mix of talent that has come in and out of Stardom from time to time, new talent that we've never seen before, a lot of the younger talent. You have your championship match on top, and I always say you should have one or two stars on this show to help draw tickets, which you did with Starlight Kid. And Starlight, and we'll get into her match because Starlight Kid was bumping all over the place like she was wrestling Mayu. But this is a really good way to start the show. Again, you're getting Rian reps in singles matches. Like I always say, these singles matches with these rookies or younger wrestlers, they're wrestling without a net, which means there's not a tag partner. There's not another, it's not a 3-way or 4-way where they can rely on somebody else. You know, you're wrestling somebody where it's, you know, it's either sink or swim. And she did really good here. Again, Manami is somebody that I would love to see come back into Stardom from time to time, because I think she's terrific and she works really well with the Stardom talent. She's very crisp. Her timing's really good. Her ring positioning's terrific. Solid opener. I had that 3.25 stars, and I do like that jumbo princess style knee that she does for the finish, my friend.
Oh yeah, she properly like there had been some beefy strikes before that, but Manami put absolutely everything into that knee strike. She was making sure that Rian was not getting up. We move on then to the God's Eye versus Cosmic Angels tag, and I said at the end of New Blood 15 that I thought that Rani Yagami and Lady C would be the next challengers for the New Blood tag titles. Now, Rice or Bread obviously got there first. It did sort of feel like this was an impromptu number one contendership match for those tag belts. And Matt, I can honestly say I didn't foresee Rani Yagami and Aya Sakura being at the top of my singles matches I want to see in Stardom list. But bloody hell, they killed it. Like, considering that this was second on a New Blood card, nobody told them that. They had a great match, and you got the strike and the submission game of Rani Yagami with those vicious, vicious kicks of Aya Sakura, ones that have been, you know, even though she is a lower card wrestler, you've still got people selling them, people like Mina Shirakawa selling them like they are death. So they're still dangerous. And that element of danger mixed with the danger of Rani Yagami's submission-based style made for a really, really good meshing in the early goings of this match. And that's without talking about Sayaka, Kurura, and Lady C, who were also fantastic. But by God, do I want to see a singles program between Rana and Aya.
What does that tell you about the depth of this roster and the booking
That's what
of this
we
roster?
just said.
Yeah.
So deep.
It's just insane. Again, I think this is the most loaded roster in all of wrestling, maybe the most loaded roster Stardom's ever been. And considering the fact that, again, you don't have a Mirai, an Utami, a Sakurai, or a Julia, I mean, again, it just goes to show you that they're just like, let's give somebody something to do. Let's give them something to do. Not only that, but it's like you got a little over 13 minutes. You're on a New Blood show. You're in front of less than 250 people, but it's like, let's take advantage of this. You know what I mean? We're out there. Let's maximize our minutes. Let's maximize our seconds. Let's make sure that everything looks really well. You know, we talked about Sherry and Miko Wada. They have similar styles. We know that match is going to be great. Rana and Aya have similar styles as well, you know, with the kicking, the striking, the submissions, the selling, you know, the back and forth, the fighting spirit. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I am all for that. And Saka, Kurura, Lady C, they play their roles very well, because the fact that Lady C is the elder in this match, you know what I mean? So she's probably the one putting everything together. And again, she's somebody that is phenomenal on this roster. She just happens to get lost in the shuffle of how loaded this roster is. But considering the fact that it does seem like we have over the past few months, it seemed like it was Lady C and Arina as a team, which we are obviously getting for the Goddess tournament. And Lady C was teaming up a lot with Shuri, which was fantastic. Now we're seeing her teaming up around Yagami, and their team is terrific. And again, we'll get into it when we talk about the aftermath of the show with the number one contenders. They work together really, really well. Again, the tag division in Stardom. Again, you can shake it up any way you want, and it's still the best tag division in all of wrestling. And the two young rookies, the Cosmic Angels rookie, Sayaka and Aya, they were terrific as well. I have a feeling somewhere down the line they're going to be New Blood champions, probably within the next 5 or 6 months. I mean, I think that's the way to go, especially the fact that you throw, the Cosmic Angels just as a unit are just wildly popular. But yeah, ultimately a really great match, 13 minutes. We're just like, let's go out and kill it. And that's absolutely, they did. 3.5 stars for me, partner. But yeah, I totally agree. Give me an Aya versus Rani Yagami singles match, like Cork and Hall, 12 minutes. Let's do it.
Moving on to Starlight Kid, Miyu Amasaki versus Yuna and Spike Nishimura. I think it's fair to say that Starlight Kid took a liking to Yuna. And when I say take a liking to, I mean absolutely brutalized her leg to the point where it almost became a little bit embarrassing to start off with. But then there was sort of a change. And Yuna and Spike Nishimura ended up at the end of this match feeling like they could snatch the win. And I think that was sort of a really good story that they were telling. How did you think that Yuna and Spike Nishimura did in their first Stardom matches?
I know very little about these two going in. Yuna I've seen a couple times. Spike I've heard of, I've never seen before. Starlight Kid is the biggest star on this show, right? She could have went in there, played the hits, gave them a little something, and no one would have thought anything of it. She was all over the place in a good way. Like, I mean, she
absolutely
gave these two again, we primarily watched just Stardom and Marigold. So it's like we don't know really much of Yuna or Spike, and we know so much of Starlight Kid. Between me and you, we've probably seen every one of her matches from 2018 until present day. And I know between me and you, we've seen every Miyu Amasaki match because she's only been wrestling about 2 years. And Starlight Kid is bumping all over the places. Not only that, but making sure, and you can kind of tell, again, kind of pull the curtain back a little here, folks, where she's calling her signals in, making sure they're at the right place at the right time. Spike hits Starlight Kid with a kick, and Starlight Kid starts to sell back for the turnbuckle. But she doesn't hit her hard enough where she sells all the way back, and she's literally going like this, like to hit her again. She kicked her twice so Starlight Kid can back up into the corner, and Spike can get some more kicks in. Starlight Kid was an absolute pro in this match. And I know she's been wrestling a long time, but again, she's in her young 20s. And able for her to be able to take on her team a wrestler like Miyu Amasaki that's only been wrestling for about 2 years. To take two wrestlers that have never participated in a Stardom ring before. I know it's new blood, but bear with me, folks. And is able to get everything that she did out of this match just goes to show you what a great pro that she is. We know she can have great matches with the Kamatanis and the Momo Watanabes and the Mayus, right? We know that, but for her to be able to do what she did here, again, this isn't going to be match of the year contender. This isn't one I'm probably not going to go back and watch. But again, if you haven't seen this, just go back and watch what Starlight Kid does. She makes these two wrestlers in this match, making sure she's directing, making sure that they look like $1,000,000. She did a great. Starlight Kid is an absolute pro, and I have so much more respect for her now than I did. And again, she's absolutely fantastic. I love Starlight Kid. But she could have been like, you're not Stardom. I'll give you a couple moves here or there. I'll take a couple bumps. Absolutely not. She was so unselfish in this match. And again, she's the biggest star, not only in this match, on this whole entire show. Just kudos to Starlight Kid. I mean, absolutely unbelievable. 3.5 stars for me. Again, I thought that Yoon and Spike, they were pretty good. They did some good stuff with Miyu. But it was Starlight Kid basically saying, don't worry, girls. I got you. Don't worry, kids. I got you. I'll make sure you two look as good as humanly possible. And all the credit in the world to Starlight Kid on that part, because I was just blown away by her unselfishness in the ring to get those two wrestlers over.
Speaking of getting wrestlers over, Tomoka Inaba and Hina versus Hanoka and Kohaku. Matt, I know that you are going to wax lyrical somewhat about Kohaku in this match, and rightly so. She looked great. But Hanoka, I believe, has been wrestling for less than a year.
Wow.
Exactly. This woman blew me away, from her athleticism to her selling. She was a quintessential babyface. She has picked up wrestling like that. She is honestly, this entire match was brilliant. It was only 10 minutes, so it was all that. You had got a beautiful exchange between Kohaku and Tomoka Inaba, where even a rolling cravat into running the ropes was so beautifully and smoothly done. But Hanoko, for me, was the MVP of this. I thought she was tremendous on offense. I thought she was tremendous as a babyface in peril. Absolutely blown away. And I know that we must say every podcast, please, Stardom, do everything you can to sign the Inaba sisters. And we're going to say it again now. Sign the Inaba sisters. But genuinely, keep your eye on Hanukkah, because she's a star in the making. She really, really is. And I know she's going to get the natural comparisons to Starlight Kid because of the mask. She has got a very similar style as well, but she is such an accomplished wrestler for having less than a year's or just over a year's experience. Fantastic stuff from her. Now, Matt, you loved Kohaku. Off you go.
No, you're absolutely right. I didn't realize that Hanako was only wrestling, or Hanaka, I'm sorry, I know I'm probably butchering the name, right around a year, because I thought she was terrific. But again, I only saw a little bit of Kohaku. I know she was in that multi-person match at a pay-per-view about a month ago, where she was teaming with Neo Genesis, and you're kind of like, is she going to be the sixth person? And then once they announced the brackets, you're like, oh, May's teaming with Kohaku, we know very little about. So I was really interested in this match for that reason. Then obviously I'm a huge fan of Hina, and obviously Tomoka Inaba's, yes, sign the Inaba sisters. That's what, Matt, what do you think about Tomoka Inaba? Sign her, here's a pen, sign her. But
there's your PSA start.
Here it is, boom, sign it. But I totally agree with your assessment there. But that Kohaku I thought was great, and her style is very similar to May's. Now, not that fast, because nobody is, but I'm like, she's kind of a high-speed style wrestler. And maybe after the tournament is over, because I don't think anybody expects them to make the playoffs or win the whole thing, maybe it's like, hey, you had a good run, kid. Why don't you challenge me for this high-speed championship? And she's only going to get better because she's going to be in the ring with the best roster in all of wrestling, in Stardom Wrestling, and all these tag matches. So now I'm really interested in what her may do as a tag team because of how great she was here in this match. Hina was terrific as always, but ultimately what it comes down to is once this breaks down to the finish, it's all about Tomoka dropping the hammer. It's all about Tomoka drop again, because we've seen Hina. She's terrific, ever improving. Once she finishes school, and then she's going, regardless of whether she goes into college or whatever, but she wants to go full time into wrestling like Hanan. I see her on that level in a year or two. Not like five-star semifinalist, not winning the Cinderella tournament, but basically where Hanan was about 2 or 3 years ago. I see Hina on that level in about a year or two if she continues, if that's what she wants to do. And Rena's right there as well. But yeah, this was great. I thoroughly enjoyed this. But like I said, ultimately it was a great showcase for the two wrestlers I've never seen of, especially again Kohaku being in this tournament. But ultimately, it's all about Tomoka dropping the hammer at the end. Damn right. 3.5 stars. This match is what New Blood should be. You have your Stardom wrestlers, you know what I mean, especially the ones that don't wrestle all that much because she's in school. Tomoka Inaba, which again, signer, and these other wrestlers that we've heard of, we've seen a little bit of. And let's see what you can do. You got 10 minutes. Let's see what we can do. I was thoroughly entertained. Again, 3.5 stars for me, partner.
It's all about giving that platform to the youth.
Yeah. That's what I love about New Blood shows. And the fact that we're getting more and more of these New Blood shows, again, put 1 or 2 stars on there. Put a star like Kid, a Tam, put a Sherry, 1 or 2 stars on there to help draw. Again, this was a smaller building. You're not drawing 400 or 500 people. You had less than 250 people there. The building seemed somewhat full. They were very, very loud. And ultimately, then it leads to this main event, which was absolutely terrific.
Yeah, and I think it's important as well. Like I've highlighted Honoka and you've highlighted Kohaku. Both really, really, really good wrestlers. I'm not saying Stardom go out and sign every single fantastic wrestler. That's not what I'm saying, because I think with such a roster, you're going to lose people if you start signing absolutely everyone. And I think as well, having competition is healthy. Having all these Joshi promotions out there is healthy. It's good for the scene. You're encouraging people to get into the sport. You've got something for everyone. So I'm not one of those that's like, right, they're good, sign them. They're good, sign them. They're good, sign them. If it works for the company, if it works for the wrestler, absolutely. However, don't just go out and sign every single person. Don't, for the English lessons, don't be Chelsea. Never be Chelsea. However, on a different note,
Chelsea Green.
Not Chelsea Green.
She'll be coming up later in this podcast because she done bad. Yeah. She done bad, sir. She done bad, sir. We'll get into that. But yes, absolutely. Don't sign everybody. Sign the Inaba sisters.
Sign the Inaba sisters.
And maybe Miko Iwata.
Yes. Yeah. Miko Iwata. Moving on then to the New Blood Tag Team titles. Speaking of an Inaba sister, it really is quite impressive how quickly Azusa Inaba has fit into Hate and how much her bratty teenage style melds well with the likes of Rina. This was a really good match. I don't think it's quite on the level with, the matches that Wingori were having and things. But again, Azusa Inaba is 16, I believe, and is in the fledgling years of her career. And I think it was still a very, very good match. I'm surprised that Hanako was the one that took the submission, not Waka. But conversely, I do really enjoy the fact that Hanako attempted to lock in the Shirasagi, which has been such a destructive finish for her since she came back from that excursion. And the moment it was broken up by Inaba, you could see her deflate as though she was like, that was my chance and I've lost it. And Rina never then let her get anywhere near the Shirasagi again and just kept locking in hydrangeas until eventually Hanako was cut down, which I quite liked. Again, it was a good match. It wasn't my favorite on the card, but that's not because this match was bad. It was because I thought the previous match was fantastic. And I thought that the Cosmic Angels versus God's Eye match was great. And I thought that the Starlight Kid and Mio Amasaki versus Yuna and Spina Shimura match was great. So it's actually more a compliment for the rest of the card than it is a negative about this. Still thought this was a good match. Overall, I think the right people won.
A rare kind of disagreement with us on the Stardom cast, because not only was this my favorite match, this is my favorite, and again, the other matches were really good. All the other matches had 3.25 stars, bro. This was 4.25 stars for me.
Wow,
the way this match,
it was a difference.
It was a really, really good match. The way this match built towards the end, and again, I didn't get it. Again, I was in New York at Comic-Con, so I didn't get to see this until literally last night. So I know who won. But I was like, boy, they're really, really going long distance here on this finishing stretch. And it felt like a big Stardom, Goddess of Stardom tag match, like the way that the finish was like 5-6 minutes long. And it was interesting that they beat Hanako. But boy, how did they have to beat it? It was bomb after bomb after bomb. It was 3 hydrangeas, the hydrangea bomb, 2 double knee bombs from Rina. Azusa just, I mean, again, we keep saying sign the Inaba sisters. I don't think anybody, again, it's subjective, but I think that if we're going to sign one, sign Tomoka. But I'm watching this match with Azusa, and I'm like, Azusa is only about a year and a half away from where Tomoka's at now. She was so impressive in this match, and we made mention before, like how her and Rina as a tag team, the fact they've only teamed a few times together, they're excellent. And they were fantastic here. And I'm so excited to see what they do in the Goddess tournament when they're, in the same block as all those other great tag teams. I thought they were terrific here. Waka was great. Again, more serious. Here she comes out. She's more focused because this is her chance to finally win a championship here. Again, with somebody like Hanako that's on an absolute roll and somebody that they clearly had plans for. Again, look at the depth of the roster. But Azusa and Rina just floored me. Just how great they were. Singles, tag, the way that they were able to isolate Waka, not making the save. When they finally realized, because it's kind of like, okay, we got to divide and conquer. Let's try to defeat Waka, because Waka is going to be the easier person to defeat because Hanako is the big monster. But eventually they were just like, well, we kind of have Hanako down. Let's just keep bombing her. And Hanako was just fighting back. And you're right. She locks in the Shirazaki. Eventually, the Azusa was able to break it up, and then it's just like, look, they kind of just look at each other like, we need to end this quick, because if that gets locked in again, there's a good chance I'm not going to be able to break it up and save the day. So yeah, again, the way that they just drop bomb after bomb after bomb, but yet Waka still keeps trying to make the save. Eventually, it's just one too many. And we see the hate team of Azusa and Rina get the win. Like, I love the psychology. I love the build. I loved how this finished. And I loved how they literally had to empty the toolbox out twice to take out Hanako. Even though it does seem weird that Hanako took the fall here, I mean, they really had to empty the box here to able to get the win. I thought it was a great match, a great V1 for this team. And I'm really excited for the V2 because what they have set up afterwards, again, styles make fights. Azusa versus Rana, Lady C in this match. Rina, we've seen Rina and Lady C. They've had great chemistry, whether it was a Wedo tie, God's Eye, or now Hate and when it was a Wedo tie versus Queen's Quest, and now Hate versus God's Eye. They have really good underrated chemistry together. And I liked how they left this match. Again, 5 matches, other than Starlight Kid, no major huge star on the show. Tomoka maybe, but at the same time, it's like, let's give majority of the time to this main event. Let's see what they can do. For me, they knocked it out of the park. The fact that this thing went over 18 minutes. Again, 4.25 stars for me. To me, this was tag team wrestling.
Yeah. Again, it's not a negative on this match by any stretch of the imagination. It was just there was things in. I mean, I was blown away by Hanoka. That's what it was. I think I was just blown away by how much talent you can have. And Azusa Inaba's the same. Like, again, a year or so into a wrestling career, and she's 16 years old. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, we have got one more show to review, and that was Stardom in Fuji, which aired on the 20th of October. Now, Matt, I think you will agree that of this show, 5 matches 3, 4, and 5 are probably the ones that you need to go out of your way to check. So we'll go through the results, but we are mainly going to be talking about matches 3, 4, and 5. But the show that we're talking about, as I've already said, was in Fuji. Fujisan Mess, to be precise, is the venue where they park the bus on the inside. That's how I remember this venue. I quite like that. 483 people in Fujisan Mess. Not the highest that they have drawn in this venue. That was 647 that they drew to the Triangle Derby show on the 12th of February, 2023. It's just under the average of 505, give or take, that they draw ordinarily in Fujisan Mess. However, I will say that it did look really quite full. But let's talk then about this card. It was obviously altered at the last minute because Mai Iwatani was ill, had a high temperature, I believe. So we started with a 3-way. Sayaka Kurura defeating Rian and Hina with the Takameki Spear in 9 minutes and 31 seconds. We then had a three-way tag team match with the God's Eye team of Sturi and Rani Yagami defeating the Hate team of Nat, Katora, and Rina, and the EXV team of Maika and Waka Tsukiyama. Rana getting the pinfall over Rina with the paradiddle in 7 minutes and 59 seconds. Again, ridiculously fun word to say. We then had a tag match, might be the only time ever where we have Momo and Saya take on Momo and Saya with a Momo and Saya win. Momo Watanabe and Saya Gamatani of Hate defeating Momo Kogo and Saya Ida of Stars. Saya Gamatani pinning Momo Kogo with the Star Crusher in 10 minutes and 23 seconds. In your semi-main event, we had the Strong Woman title challenger battle royal, where two people would go on to Fighting Spirit Unleashed for the number one contendership for the New Japan Strong Women's Championship. We've already talked about the fact that Hazuki and Koguma won. They were the last people standing, having eliminated Saori Anou, Starlight Kid, Lady C, Hanako, Ruaka, and Konami as well in 15 minutes and 9 seconds. We'll go through that in a lot more detail shortly. And then in your main event, the Cosmic Angels team of Tam Nakano, Natsupoi, and Yuna Mizumori unsuccessful in their match with Neo Genesis, Meisera, Suzu Suzuki, Mio Amasaki getting the win. Meisera pinning Yuna Mizumori with the shooting star in 17 minutes and 24 seconds. So, Matt, let's talk then about this third match, which can best be described as Momo Saya squared.
It was actually funny because I'm watching this match, and again, I'm a big fan of all four of the wrestlers, and I'm doing my notes, and I'm like, Momo hits Saya, and then Saya comes in, and then Momo comes in, and then I was like, wait a minute, I had to pause it, and I was like, hold on. So then I was just writing, I just wrote Kogo, Ida. So I was like, my notes are kind of all over the place. Crowd was so, I mean, again, you have Saya Ida, who's crazy over. You have Momo Watanabe, again, cool heel, former Wonder Stardom champion, Saya Kamatani, maybe the most over person in this entire roster, which is crazy. Again, in my opinion, the greatest Wonder Stardom champion of all time. Momo Kogo was the most over person in this match by a lot. And I'm not saying the crowd was dead for any of the other wrestlers. They love some Momo Kogo. Get heat on Momo Kogo. Again, Momo Kogo is a really great underrated seller. The hot tag goes to Saya Ida, the more explosive wrestler. Again, she's the gorilla, the more explosive wrestler. She comes in, she's just chopping everybody down. Then all of a sudden, she turns around and she takes 2 kicks from Momo Watanabe that sound like a gun went off here at Fuji. I was like, and the crowd even went, oh, like they echoed. I was like, oh, and this is a really cool venue. You mentioned before the bus, and even when the wrestlers come out, it looks almost like stadium seating. So I'm like, oh man, like I haven't seen them. Yeah, I mean, they should really run this venue more, considering the fact they had almost 500 people here and it was under their average. So this is a venue that I think Stardom should run maybe once a month because, one, the crowd's into everything. 2, you're drawing a lot of tickets. Again, I don't know the logistics or the building costs, but, I mean, when you're going to be drawing around 500 people. And, again, no offense to, like, this is one of the weaker Stardom cards of, like, the entire year. Like, again, it was still good because it's Stardom, but it's just like, there's, as far as these Stardom World shows go, there's at least 20 off the top of my head that were better than this. But anyway, getting back to this match, I thought this match was terrific. Kamatani was great. Her stuff with Ida was terrific. But Momo Watanabe, those kicks just really popped the crowd. Momo Kogo just wouldn't stay down. She wouldn't stay down. And it just took a lot of double team offense from Kamatani and Momo Watanabe that eventually, and the crowd really bit when Saya goes for that first Star Crusher and Momo Kogo rose through. I'm gonna have to get off this match and I'm gonna confuse myself.
Just for clarity.
Yeah, they bid on that false finish, but eventually it's Watanabe and Kamatani of Hate that wind up putting Momo Kogo down. Obviously, Saya Kamatani with the Star Crusher. Terrific match. 3 3/4 stars for me.
Moving on then to what was really the main event in terms of stakes, even if it was a main event in terms of card placement. It was the 8-1 Battle Royal for the strong women's #1 contendership match, obviously won by Hazuki and Koguma. What I really enjoyed about this match, aside from the fact that Starlight Kid and Soriano were eliminated almost immediately, or that's how it felt anyway, I enjoyed the fact that it did very much come down to tag team wrestling. And more than that, I enjoyed the fact that Konami and Ruaka bailed from the ring. The moment that the match started, they were like, nah, we're done with this. Don't need this. So they bailed, and then they would just pick people out from underneath the ropes, and I quite enjoyed that. They were the reason that obviously Soriano and Starlight Kid got eliminated. Before that, we had a glimpse of Hazuki versus Starlight Kid. We haven't just forgotten that feud, which is great. And then, of course, that tag team chemistry. FWC versus Konami and Ruaka. And ultimately, it breaks down into a tag team match, which is great. I think having FWC go on to America, where they're going to be insanely over, is the perfect thing to do. I think Starlight Kid would have been massively over. She's massively over wherever she goes. But I think having those two together will be really, really nice, especially for them. I think having your best friend go with you is always going to be nice. But yeah, for me at least, I think this is the right decision. And I hope they have a fantastic time.
Not only that, but you get Hazuki and Starlight Kid. They start off, and Hazuki gets on Starlight Kid. And we're like, oh, here we go. She goes to take the mask off, and then Soriano is just like, no, not. They're not even in the same faction. She's not having any of that. And then, if you remember, Rob, beginning of the year, we were teased the wipeout match with Soriano and Hazuki. They both of them put it over on social medias. I think it was like at a Corkin show where like they had the picture of Anna with the belt up and Hazuki. I'm like, oh, here we go. And we never got it. We had about 30 seconds of Hazuki and Soriano on this show. And it might have been the best 30 seconds of anything that happened on this show. And I'm like, oh boy, howdy. Oh boy, howdy. There is another match that we never got that I kind of forgot about. And once Hazuki, fingers crossed, wins the Wonder Belt, I would love to see that be a V3, a V4, a V5 with her and Soriano, because they were fantastic. They were fantastic. Yeah, ultimately, you're absolutely right. It's just simple psychology. You have the two heels here. So they're going to bail out. It's over the top rope only. And I like how FWC, they do the FWC dive, but they make sure when they do the dive, they step through the middle rope to do the dive instead of over the top rope, so they don't eliminate themselves. You remember that Royal Rumble? I think it was Royal Rumble 97 where they were in the Alamo Dome, where they brought a bunch of wrestlers.
Oh, yeah.
But they just kept diving off the top rope, and it was Jerry Lawler. I was like, what are you doing? You're eliminating yourself. That's so dumb. And then it goes Vince McMahon or Jim Ross trying to save. Like, oh, that's what they're used to. Like, how do you not know the rules? But anyway, I really like that. I also like, you're absolutely, it comes down to FWC teamwork. I liked how they're getting ready to put Konami away. And I think it's Koguma gets the Kuma rolling. And then at the 2 count, Ruaka throws in the lunch crate gimmick that we all hate so much. Daichi sees the crate, but doesn't.
He is not in the mood for that crate.
And then, so I'm sitting there going, that should be a DQ, right? And I get it's a battle royal, it's a main event, it's not, it's, And then he just grabs it, he yells at every member of Hate, and then he spikes it like an American football in the end zone. So like, my man, Daichi, that's what I'm talking about. So not only is the heat not on Daichi, because, and I get like he saw the smoking gun, but didn't see who fired it. So it's like you could disqualify, and you're splitting hairs here, but I like he was just like, making sure he wasn't getting any heat on him because he was probably scolded the school kids, the bullies, and then threw away the big weapon. And then ultimately and I love how they eliminate Konami. Hazuki pretty much does a suicide dive to Konami's midsection. Like, of course she would. Why wouldn't she? But ultimately, yeah, great stuff. The fact that we're getting FWC, obviously, I know it's not tag match, but we're getting them in America. And we know the two of them love to post stuff on social media of like what they're doing. They just went on vacation together. So the two of them, by the two of them, I mean Hazuki's going to be slamming a lot of Sam Adams beers because the Sam Adams Brewery is in the Boston area. So I'm looking forward to Hazuki drinking some Oktoberfest and some winter lager over there in the Boston area. And folks, if you do see Hazuki, buy her a Sam Adams because the Sam Adams Brewery is one of my favorites. So, but ultimately, I'm so excited for the two of them because the two of them are going to absolutely tear it up. And this can be very much like a litmus test. If FWC gets over the way that we think they're going to, why not bring them over, for a couple dates here or there, whether it's Ring of Honor, whether it's AEW, whether it's Las Vegas Stardom, right? So Ultimately, though, I don't really rate battle royals just because it's different rules. I thought it was entertaining. It did what it needed to do. Again, we got Hate over as heels. We got Daichi over as the man, and then we got glimpse of Hazuki versus Starlight Kid, which obviously we had the program there. But let's not sleep on Soriano and Hazuki because again, I was like, oh man, that's the perfect way to go. And I thought Hanako was really good in here as well. For all the limited time that she was in here. But ultimately, though, I mean, I'm not gonna be upset with Hazuki or Kagama going over. The only thing is that I will be upset with is if that Hazuki doesn't win this 4-way. As much as I love Kagama, as much as I love Anna Jay, Trisha Dore, I'm a big fan of. It's got to be Hazuki. But again, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But really good stuff, and they set up a lot of stuff in this match as well.
Moving on to the main event, the actual scheduled main event, Cosmic Angels versus Neo Genesis. Matt, obviously it was a really good match. Look who is in there. Natsupoi, Tam, Meisera, Miyu Amasaki, Suzu, Yuna. And Yuna and Meisera is obviously the story here. Going into Korakuen Hall, their high-speed championship match, Yuna has pinned Meisera, and now Meisera has got the revenge that she needed over Yuna Mizumori. They're 1-1. Who's going to win that rubber match at Korakuen Hall? Matt, it was a good match. A really, really, really good match, wasn't it?
Yeah, I forgot to make mention on that match. I gave 4.5 stars to that main event. That Azumi, Miyu Amasaki, and Starlight Kid, they did challenge for the artist belts. So somewhere down the line, we're going to be getting that trio versus Tam, Soriano, and Natsupoi. Boy, howdy. Again, we're eating well as Stardom fans, aren't we? You're just fans in general. This match was really good. Nowhere near as good as that match. I had this match at 4 stars. I thought this was the best actual match of the show. Where obviously,
by mile.
The fact that Hazuki's coming over here to the United States. But yeah, again, you're getting Crazy Star in there with Yatsuzu and Meisera. Miyu Amasaki was terrific. But you're absolutely right. This match was just another build to Yuna and Meisera. And considering the fact that for the last 2.5 weeks, they've done a great job building what is kind of maybe the 5th most important belt in Stardom. Red belt, white belt, IWGP because it's Mayu. I'm going to say Goddess just because I'm a tag wrestler and high speed. So I guess technically maybe, 4th or 5th biggest belt in Stardom. The fact that they're building this up the way they are, I think it's awesome. I think it's great in the Stardom committee. I think that's great on what they're doing with Cosmic Angels versus Neo Genesis, because not only is it May versus Unit, it's the units as well that are in these matches, in these tag and 6 persons that are setting Unit up for success and May up for success. Ultimately, great stuff. Yeah, obviously you have Meltier in there. As this match is ramping towards the end, they're hitting their super kicks, they're hitting all their tag moves. Everybody's going to the outside. I'm like, oh man, they're gonna hit the hand holding dive. But considering the fact 2 out of the last 3 times they did it, they slipped. I think the hand might be retired a little bit. They messed it up like once in like 2 years, and then 2 out of the last 3 times they messed it up. So maybe they might be like, let's kind of not do that. But they go to the separate posts and they both do the big dive, which actually is like better looking because if they're getting higher thing, it's just really cool for me to say hand holding dive and just watch me reverse pop you. But regardless, this ultimately comes down to Yuna versus May. But again, May needs the help of Suzu and Miyu Amasaki to defeat Yuna at the end, which ultimately she does because we do. And I love how this finished. We did see the Crazy Star tag finish, where we did see the lung blower into the German suplex into the Rolling Star. So again, even though Yuna ate a loss here, she can say, well, hey, when we have that singles match in Korakuen Hall, you're not going to have your buddy Suzu Suzuki dropping me on my head. You're not going to have Miyu Amasaki stopping me from pinning, because there was a lot of great back and forth near falls between these two, which is what the high-speed division is really based on. The Hazuki matches, the Natsupoi matches, the Starlight Kid, the Azumi matches. As it's getting ramped up, you see these quick 2.9 falls back and forth. And then when Yuna catches May with the Superwoman, I thought that was the finish. And ultimately wasn't. These finishes had me on the edge of my seat. Really good match to end. Again, what was an average for Stardom, which was an average show. 4 stars for me. Again, I think the best match of this show.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Which again, when you consider the talent that is in that ring, it's really unsurprising. But Matt, you mentioned that Chelsea Green was going to get a mention on this show. And that, my friend, can mean one segment and one segment only. And that is, of course, Io and Kairi watch.
It's one segment that has two matches, though, so we're doubling the fun. We go to this past Monday, and of course, shout out to my main man Darren Chatting for giving me time cues that really help. At any minute I can save, trust me, I'm a busy boy.
Actually, no.
Good.
We don't like Darren at the moment.
Whoa, no. What happened? Did you get heat, or did his football team beat your football team? Is that what happened?
Behavior's a Sunderland fan.
Excuse me. There's my equivalent. Excuse me.
No, there's considering Newcastle and Sunderland are like the biggest rivals in the world. I've never given him grief for it. Newcastle are better though. He decided to send me pictures of all of the nice Mayu stuff.
Oh, I got that
just
too.
Posted. Yeah, I was like, do you know what? I'm not jealous at all, man. I'm not jealous at all, Darren. I'm not jealous. I'm massively jealous.
I put them over. I said, those are great. Awesome for you. Well, wow. That's the one thing we don't have in common. That you're a jealous guy, and I'm happy for people.
Absolutely.
No. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, Darren, I apologize, but you can send me the time cues because I'll need them. But anywho, back to this segment. It's not about you versus Darren. It's about Io and Kairi taking on Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. This starts out with a backstage promo. That's how the match gets set up. And I was all for this, my man, because we were going to see if Liv Morgan, as per the PWI Women's Top 250, is better than one Io Shirai. And folks, there isn't a salesperson in the world that can convince me. Liv was only in this match for a few minutes. It starts out, Io does the double leg on to Liv. She starts slapping around a little bit. Raquel gets tagged in, and she's basically the muscle of this match. She bullies around Io, bullies around Kairi. Eventually they say, hey, we know how to take her down. We get some great double team work from the Sky Pirates. They wind up getting quite a bit on Raquel Rodriguez. Eventually that Liv Morgan gets tagged in. She does a little bit of stuff, and then Io's like, I've had enough. Showtime palm strikes for everybody. This is a really cool spot. She goes to the outside to set up for that springboard dropkick that she does. Raquel tries to stop Io with the big boot. Io grabs the boot. Now Io is on the apron. Locks Raquel's leg into the rope, does a dragon screw into the rope. When Raquel bumps onto the apron, then Io starts double stomping on Raquel and then uses Raquel's body to springboard for the dropkick. I was like, she's just the absolute best. She's the best. Kairi comes in, cutlasses for everybody. Kairi's all over. Again, Kairi, this team is obviously built on Io, right? The crowd chants for Io. Again, the hot tag all the time is towards Io because the explosiveness. Kairi's absolutely fantastic. These tag matches, especially the NXT one that we're going to talk about in a moment, Kairi's fantastic. And I understand it's easy to be overshadowed by Io because it's Io, but Kairi's still Kairi. Once given the opportunity, she's terrific in these tag matches. Kairi, she winds up doing the 7 Kairi elbow. We see an elbow smash to the outside. Io does a missile drop kick running off the apron. Now, you remember those Miami Toyota springboard Joshi style drop kicks that she would do in those big matches.
The ones that can only hurt.
Yeah. Io, and again, because now this is a video podcast for those watching, when Toyota would take those, they were flat backdrops, right? Io's taking a missile drop kick, so she's on her side, but she's still running off the apron, taking a face bump onto the floor. So it's like, holy
in a TV match.
Yeah, in a TV, but at the same time, it's in front of like 1.5 million people. So it's just like, true. So I think that was really cool. But eventually, though, after the missile dropkick, we see Last Legend and Jackson are on the outside like they were last week for the title match. They wind up punching Io, causing disqualification. We get a whole big brawl. So that because we're building towards NXT the very next day. So, folks, we go to NXT the very next night, which will be part of our Gaze at Julia later on our next week because Julian and Steph Acker were in the main event. So Io in this match, and again, I'm watching NXT. It's 8 o'clock. I'm usually in bed 9:30 because I'm up at 4. So I was like, how are we going to start this show out? I know that at least I have to watch one of these matches before I go to bed. Starts out with Io and Kairi coming down. I'm like, great. Not only was Io and Kairi, they melded their Stardom gear and their NXT gear. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's a throwback to NXT and Stardom. The bell ring, and of course, they're wrestling Last Legend and Jakara Jackson, which has been set up really well the past 2 or 3 weeks. As soon as the bell rings, massive Io chants. and Io is like NXT Stardom Io. I mean, it's boom as well as she can, because no disrespect to Legend and Jackson, they're not Mayu, they're not Momo Watanabe, but I mean, great stuff from Io, just the explosiveness, the bullet train, the Shotai palm strikes. Kairi gets in the ring, and somebody must have told Kairi she's in Cork and all in 2017, because she's just bumping all over the place. Cutlasses are like guns being. It sounded like Momo's kicks the Sayaka. Just some amazing stuff. I mean, Kairi was the MVP of this match by a mile. We do eventually see the heels wind up getting a little bit of heat on Kairi. Io comes in as usual, hot tag, Showtime palm strikes. Eventually, the heels, Jackson and Legend, they retreat to the outside. Kairi just does this insane forearm smash off the apron. Io hits the Asai moonsault. They get back into the ring. Io hits a Quesadora double stomp onto Jackson for a 2 count. Kairi comes back in, just beats up everybody with the exception of Io and the ref, with just these brutal forearm smashes that even a Masato Tanaka was there. He'd be like, damn, girl, take it easy. I mean, again, Kairi was like 2017 Kairi in this match. Eventually, Legend and Jackson, they do get the advantage. They go for, I guess that might have been their tag finisher. I don't watch enough of them. It's basically the one has Io in a wheelbarrow, the other one's coming off the ropes. Then all of a sudden, we see Piper Niven and Chelsea Green come in the ring to cause the disqualification. And then we do see something with Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair in the crowd. So my guess is Jade and Bianca are going to be feuding with Jackson, Legend, Chelsea Green, Piper Niven, and Io and Kairi. So we're setting up different challengers for Bianca and Jade, which I really like. There's different ways for them to go. Eventually, though, Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, they wind up beating up everybody in the ring. If you remember, Piper Niven had 2 great matches with Io Shirai back at Io's V14, her 546-day run. Chelsea Green, I tweeted something out about 2 minutes later. She must have forgot what it's like to be in the ring with Io and Kairi, because I tweeted out that GIF. You know the GIF, my man. Yes.
We all know the GIF.
Yes. And again, if you've never seen it, just go on Twitter, type in Chelsea Green dropkick, and you will see the Freedom dropkick as Kairi and Io launch Mayu into the face of one Chelsea Green. So maybe we'll see that again. I don't know. But ultimately, 2 great matches from Io and Kairi. And again, Kairi's just really taking advantage of every single second that she has in the ring. So much so, Rob Goodwin, that has inspired me to do, for the month of November, a few Kairi stuff on our Patreon. So, yes. So myself and Andy Header will be doing what if Io and Kairi, current Io and Kairi, were in current Stardom Tag Wrestling. I love it. Guns. I know they are now in WWE. Io and Kairi, in my opinion, the best tag team in all of WWE. Let's take them, and they're on a roll. Let's put them in current day Stardom. That's my what if with Andy Header. My roundtable discussion, my man. And as always, you can tag on these roundtables if it fits with you. The returning Karen Peterson will be back sometime in the month of November. We'll be talking about our top 5 favorite Kairi Sane, Kairi Hojo matches. So whether it's NXT, WWE. So I'm so inspired by Kairi's performances on Monday or Tuesday. We're going to do a little bit of a Kairi theme somewhat for the month of November. So, and considering the fact that, again, it's going to be about 7 or 8 episodes dropping on the Patreon in the next week and a half, that I'm moving right into November, because why not, my man? Because sleep is for the weak. But ultimately, great stuff with Io and Kairi, and that is going to bridge us into the gaze at Julia, because Julia and Steph Vacker were getting ready for their main event match. And who do they bump into in the hallway? Io and Kairi.
Oh, I thought you were going to say the human Cadillac.
Well, who would you I tell you what, who would you rather see, a handicap match with the human Cadillac versus Julia and Steph Vacker, or Steph Vacker and Julia versus Kairi and Io? It's heads you win, tails you win.
It is, absolutely. You can't give me that choice, my man. You really can't.
But I don't know if they're teasing something with Io, because Io and Kairi were massively over in Full Sail. And I don't know if it's free tickets or whatever. I don't know what the ratings are. I didn't see the ratings yet. But if they decide, because Io and Kairi, they live in Orlando, if they decide to do Io and Kairi versus Steph Vacker and Julia at like an NXT show, and just have them go like 15 minutes, and then have maybe Roxanne or Cora Jade come in and cause a double DQ just to keep the heat. Again, they bumped into him. It was a backstage segment. Maybe I'm just reaching. It's a backstage segment where the 4 of them were kind of just like, hey, how are you? I was like, oh man, are we going there? Or was that just kind of like Yeah, I don't know. Regardless, it was cool to have all 4 of them on the screen. Consider, in fact, 3 of the 4 former winners of the Wonder, former winners of the World, former winners of the 5-star Grand Prix. That was pretty cool. I thought it was pretty cool to be on a big platform like the CW on NXT.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, they've just sold out your neck of the woods, haven't they? NXT, the 2300 Arena, all tickets sold out in 30 minutes.
I didn't even know the tickets were on sale. And then they're going to be in Hershey for Halloween Havoc. And I know there's still tickets available. But unfortunately, again, and I think I said this the other day, with me being away at New York Comic Con, and then I have Catch Wrestling Camp in 2 weeks, and the week after that, don't tell Rob, but I'm away at work again. So,
Just honestly, I'm here. It's 11 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted. I'm in pain, but I'm here, Matt Turner.
And we're still doing another episode.
Jesus Christ, yeah, we are.
We better wrap this up then, buddy.
Wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have enjoyed recording it. Thank you to everyone that supports this podcast, whether it is on the Patreon, whether it is listening on the free feed. We appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Don't forget, leave us a like and a review. It helps the podcast out massively, and it is free. If you want to subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardomcast for all of these episodes early and ad-free for as little as $1 singular dollar per month. Don't forget to check out the website, www.thestardomcast.com, for all of your Stardom stats, reviews, all of our archived episodes, and all of the histories to go along with this promotion. As well, you can find us on Twitter and all of the social media at the Stardomcast. You can talk to me on Twitter if you so wish, for some reason, at Real Rob Goodwin. Darren, I don't really hate you, brother. Matt Turner, sign us off, good sir.
Folks, questions, comments. You want to show me your Mayu Iwatani merchandise? I got no problem. I will put you over Matt Turner OF on the Instagram and or the Twitter. Folks, if you want to reach me, the email, the StardomCast22@gmail.com is the best way to reach me via the email system. Folks, thank you so much for all your fantastic support. Really means the world to us as we keep climbing the rankings of wrestling podcasts. We appreciate your support. Can't do it without you, because like I always say, it's just not my podcast. It's our podcast. Because when we're all together, everyone's different, everyone's special.